All right, it is 2026, January 6th, 2026. Meeting of the select board is 6:30. Do I have a motion to call the meeting? Moved by Sarah, seconded by Nico. All in favor? Aye. The select board is committed to providing an environment of respect during meetings, sir. We ask all members to interact in a polite manner, even when there's disagreement, and we value the participation of our entire community with the marginalized and minoritized folks. So, to welcome and respect it, we ask our committee members and all of you who participate to commit to these standards and respect our community. With that, so walk-ins, if folks don't know, things that are not on the agenda. Does anyone have, so let's see, something not on the agenda, if you're a call-in or walk-in issue?
Can I walk in?
Or you can saunter up. How about that?
Thank you.
And just your name and address for the record.
I'm Gordon Bright, 48 Man White Road. I have a one white shirt and tie. I don't know if they're going to dress on life.
Just picture.
We had to take pictures.
Happy New Year. I'm coming in tonight just for a couple minutes. I want to first thank the board, thank Nancy Holt and Susan Harrison for seeing that the project for a sanitation facility happened last summer at Egypt Beach. And as far as I know, it went very successful. I went over a few times myself and kind of checked it out. And I think it worked fine from what I hear. So one of my two questions is, are we doing plans for a similar facility for 2026 in Egypt?
So again, typically, because it's not in the agenda, we're not supposed to go back and forth, but I will just say generally to folks that it was a successful program, and I think we have every intention of continuing as far as we know. So yes.
Yeah.
So I'm talking over here, not to violate any law or rules.
My second question will be a little bit more contentious. Would the board possibly consider something for Peggy Beach for 2026? At least, pursue the idea or the option of what might be available to us for 2026.
So we're always open to hear suggestions. I mean, it's always going to come down to money to see.
Mr. Chair, I think the issue at Peggy was, and it doesn't mean we can't resolve it, was the ability to hook it up, electric and
But yeah, we're going to continue to expand that for, right, exactly. So we'll
but it
continue
makes
to
sense to do something that, because that's a very busy beach and we got plenty of parking room there.
So let's do that. So with the beach committee, I don't know when next time they come in, but let's find a time for them to put them on the agenda to see maybe do best, because some of it's electric, some of it's plumbing, some of it's other stuff. I'll say I love the program. Most people, I think, love the program. Love to see it expanded. But let's do it in
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because even Hummer Rock might be a good one. Talk about it.
Yes, I think the commission meets next week. I know it's going to be on our agenda to discuss.
Excellent.
We'll bring it up tonight.
Yeah, no, let's.
Get the wheels rolling. Okay.
I love it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
So with that, I'll go to the report of town administrator. Gordon, thank you for that.
Good evening, happy new year. It's nice to see so many people here for my first update of the new year. I know that's why they're all here. I want to first start off echoing Mr. Gilmore's comments yesterday and update back to the DPW crews for their hard work. For the last 10 days, they were out last night, they'll probably be out tonight. They were out New Year's Day. They've been out quite a bit over the last 10 days, out salting and sanding, so nice of them for all their hard work, keeping the town safe over the holiday season. Community Police Academy, reminder, Scituate Police Department is hosting a Community Police Academy. Program provides an inside look at law enforcement, public safety, and the department's role in serving and protecting Scituate. Classes will be held on Monday evenings from 6:30 to 8 p.m. from January 26th through March 23rd at the Emergency Operations Center, Scituate Public Safety Building. Seating is limited. Registration closes next week, January 16th. You can visit the Scituate Police Facebook page or email Lindsay B. Simone at ldsimone@scituatema.gov for information and to register. First Walk Golf Course is closed for the season and dog walking began on Christmas Eve. We encourage our residents to enjoy this beautiful property during the winter months, but we do ask that they respect the course, protect it against damage. Please remember to keep your dogs leashed at all times. Please stay off the greens, the tee boxes, and out of the sand traps. We also want you to be aware that there is wildlife on the course, so please take extra precautions with your dogs and young children, particularly in the early morning and evening hours. DPW updates, the work on the Glades Road revetment continues. This work will consist of repairs to the revetment along the seawall, with some minor work to the south of the Glades Road entrance. 4 parking spaces are fenced off. Glades Road is one way during this project for a portion expected to be completed by March 2026. Work continues to progress in the Oceanside Drive seawall project. The contractors completed the first work on the correct section of seawall. It's all poured up. Rebound forms have been installed for the next section of the wall. We are looking at concrete pours maybe tomorrow, possibly Thursday for that section. So the contractor does seem to be picking up speed out there and making some headway. The Minor Peaks parking lot continues. Project entails raising and expanding the parking lot, repaving, striping. First coat of paving is in, the granite curbing installation has started. Installation of the drainage system is next, and final paving will take place in the spring prior to beach season. Finally, the Scituate Food Pantry saw unprecedented demand during the holiday season. They are very grateful for the help of Scituate residents, but they continue to need your assistance. Most needed items at this time: canned chicken, canned ham, spam, canned potatoes, tomato soup, black beans, white beans, garbanzo beans, decaf coffee, and paper towels. These items can be dropped off at the food pantry during operating hours of the bins behind the Old Gate School. Scituate Library, Village Market, and Shaw's also collect food pantry. You can go to ScituateFoodPantry.com for more information. That's all I have for tonight.
Questions?
Good.
Good. We'll move to the first item on our agenda. So we have, Joe, come on up, Jennifer, come on. So this is the select board fee schedule. This is, so folks know every year, we go over all the different fees. Kind of a newer policy, to make sure that we stay in place. So is that too? So tell us what we're looking at. We're looking at liquor license fees. Take us through.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. So I'm Shari Young, Executive Assistant to the Select Board, with Michelle Segazy, who's the Executive Assistant to the TA, and Jen Davies, who is the Administrative Assistant to the Select Board as well. So as you just said, we finished, we just wrapped up our annual licenses renewal, which we're responsible for alcohol, common vics, innkeepers, all of those things that aren't building permitting and all of those kinds of Board of Health things, in conjunction with Board of Health, I should say, because many restaurants and that kind of stuff. With that, we have to turn in a fee schedule to the ABCC when we turn in all of our signed license agreements with all of our businesses. As such, we are tasked with looking at those fees annually. We have been a little lax probably in doing that, as we have not updated these fees since 2016, so we're 10 years behind.
Oof,
So
that's all right.
It's all right.
It's not the only one.
we're not the only ones, but since we had the time, Jen did a lot of research and put together a whole spreadsheet with all those surrounding towns, looking at Norwell, Hanover, Hull, Cohasset, Hingham, Marshfield, all of those kinds of towns to see where we are and how we stacked up against them. So we provided you with all of that information and all fees that we collect at this time.
And this would be effective, not until next renewal, which would be collecting in November 2026.
Right, with the exception of, if this passes the hawker peddlers, which we have not done yet, those are a seasonal license, so a seasonal and a hawker peddler, the ice cream guys, any of your food trucks.
And your seasonal.
And the seasonal alcohol would be a few affected, unless you wanted to wait, we hold them off until 2027. So,
Okay. First, everyone needs to know something. These three are absolutely fabulous. And you think of every, the licenses, every resident, first touch for the residents that come in, large events, small events, and again, all the licensing that they do. I just, people need to recognize the hard work that these three do for the town, because it's absolutely remarkable. With that, again, this has been 10 years since we've gone through, and we're looking at, on average, a 10% increase over 10 years. And we put a wonderful spreadsheet together to show that we are behind Norwell, Hanover, Hull, Hingham, Cohasset, and most of the time, Marshfield, sometimes Marshfield is a little lower on things like on-premise restaurant alcohol, farm brewer off-premise, retail packaged goods, common vic licenses. And again, some of these are smaller increases that we're looking $15. But again, to help kind of close the gap on some of the fees that we're looking at. Again, on average, you're looking at about a 10% increase. So.
And-
So just that,
And
I'll look
I
that
will
up.
also say, and it's warranted, like, there's a lot of work that goes into this. When we're approving licenses, there's a lot of backup that you folks have to, put together, validate, all that sort of stuff. So I think I thought your suggestions were really good and in line, and it makes us like not the most expensive by any means, but it just makes, you know, kind of more what it costs now versus 2016, and I appreciate all the effort that you've done to do this. We try to make these data-informed decisions, and I really appreciate when we get data. I do have a question on the cordial liquor added to wine. The 400, is that because we don't do that?
We don't do it, we've
Yeah.
never issued one.
I don't think we would need to have a bylaw change, right? Is it we never issue one or we can't do it?
No.
We've never issued one, to my knowledge.
My knowledge, we can do it, we've just never issued one. It's just moving it off the fee schedule.
Okay.
If you wanna leave it, we can certainly leave it and leave it, I guess, at the 400.
I guess I just would ask the question, would there ever be a scenario we do it, or is this just not a thing that's done anymore?
It seems to me like it's antiquated. but-
Yes, I would agree. The other towns don't even.
You wouldn't need
offer
it anymore. The legislature just passed a change in the statute that will allow a board to upgrade someone's beer and wine license.
Right, that's what I
So-
thought.
This would be if you had a beer and wine license and you wanted to serve a cordial, because we didn't have an all alcohol, but now you can just go for beer and wine to all alcohol.
Right, and we're gonna have to, because they've made that update, are we gonna have to change anything like our bylaw, or will we be able to do that once they made that
No, the licensing authority, which is you, has to adopt the statute,
up? Okay,
which is just a vote, and then each individual license holder commits, I would like to upgrade my license, you're under no obligation to do it.
yeah,
And then the caveat is, if I upgraded your license, you go to change your ownership, you're not gonna do it anymore, it reverts back to a beer and wine.
right, because it's, the whole premise is you're in good standing and you're
So the new
applying
owner,
because of you're being rewarded for being in good standing, but then if you sell it, it goes back and they have to do the same
they would get the beer and
Kinda
wine,
do
and they would
the
have to
same
ask for that.
standard, okay. I kinda knew that have gotten past, this was on the board, so I was curious if that had anything to do with it, but.
We were waiting until the legislation passed before I put that.
Right,
And that has passed, it is on the governor's desk.
okay, great. That was my only question, and I greatly appreciate the work.
And again, when you look at the averages go down, we're still lower than the regional average, so we're still a cheap date.
And yeah, we are, we're too big, and no one's getting singled out, right? But
It's
it's,
across the
yeah.
board.
everyone is a little bit.
Everyone's a little bit high.
That's my thing, everyone just, fee increases, everyone just needs to be a little bit on that.
Yeah.
Not just one.
It's not just one section of the
Yeah,
business
okay,
world.
appreciate it.
Yeah, that's a good question. I assume that the reason that we separate the VFW out from the other types of alcoholic licenses is that VFW acts under a different type of premise and
Correct.
more of a.
It's a club license.
Club license.
Yeah, they're also not included.
They're not included in our quota now.
Yeah, I want to make sure that's why.
Yeah.
And the second question I had was, we talked about this with our harbor recently. We're catching up after 10 years. Do we have a plan, almost a better plan? We're doing this at a great time. Do we have a plan for a forward-thinking model for when we're gonna update these?
Every year.
Yes, our new policies that we now do this annually, as opposed to waiting.
But we don't have a structure in mind, we're going to revisit this on calendar as opposed to having a structure.
Same time next year.
Increase.
Yeah,
It's kind of on a calendar because it will always have to be done when our ABCC license, annual licenses have to be done, which is always, they have to be done by the end of, November, thank you. And then you guys vote them in December, we have December, and then we have to put them in February, so,
I just didn't know if we had a structured increase.
no, we don't have one
appearance
planned.
To give people a heads up on what they can expect in the future, or if we're gonna just revisit, so that's.
any other questions, comments?
Should I just comment that
Sure.
I think the report is extremely diligent, very detailed, makes it real easy. And it's common sense, so I have no questions. So I can make the motion if you'd like.
Please, yeah, what would be my pleasure?
You've got, one, move to approve the following increases for license fees. On-premise section 12 restaurant all alcohol license increase to $2,000 renewal and $2,200 new. On-premise section 12 restaurant wine and malt license increase to $1,200 renewal, $1,400 new. On-premise 12 club all alcohol license increase to $1,200. On-premise section 12 club VFW all alcohol license increase to $600. Off-premises section 15 retail packaged goods all alcohol license increase to $2,000. Off-premises section 15 retail packaged goods wine and malt license increase to $1,200. Farmer brewery farmer series pouring malt license to $1,000. Seasonal on-premise section 12 all alcohol license to $1,500 renewal and $1,700 new. Seasonal on-premise section 12 wine and malt license to $1,000 renewal and $1,200 new. First change in liquor license in calendar year increase to $100. Second change in liquor license in calendar year increase to $200. Third change in liquor license in calendar year increase to $300. Common victular license increase to $60. Inn holder lodging house bed and breakfast license increase to $300. Movie theater license $100. Bowling license $75. Class 1, 2, and 3 license increase to $125. Annual entertainment license increase to $100. Hawker peddler license increase to $150. Limousine taxi license increase to $25 per car. Item 2, move to remove the cordial and liquors fee associated with wine and malt licenses.
Moved by Mr. Gilmore, seconded by Ms. Harrison, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank
Well
you.
done, good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
Good evening.
what are you doing? Good. All right, so there are 2 roads here, Egypt and Seaside, talking about the sewer replacement agreements. Tell us.
Yep, so we have before you an agreement between parties, the owners of 70 Egypt Ave and 70 Seaside Road and the town of Scituate. This would be a project to abandon a section of sewer main, which extends from Egypt Road out towards Egypt Beach, which is impaired and taking on inflows and infiltration. The conditions of the pipe are such that we are unable to rehabilitate or repair it. So we intend to abandon that section of main. There are 2 services off that main, these 2 properties involved. So this will be to relocate their private sewer services onto Egypt Ave so that we can complete the work abandoning the main and sealing up those leaks.
Again, I should mention all the importance of closing up those holes, because it is remarkable when we get the data back how much seawater actually seeps in.
This is a pretty significant one too.
This is pretty important. Questions?
My one question, maybe it was somewhere in here that I didn't see, but the town's taking on the cost for these two resident homeowners, they're not paying for the sewer installation, correct?
Correct. The grinder pumps will?
Yep, the town will furnish and install a grinder pump for each property, and run that pump, to the main.
All right, motion, take a motion.
Move to approve the license agreements for 70 Egypt Avenue and 77 Seaside Road for connection to town sewer line.
Mr. Gilmore, second. Nico, all in favor?
Aye.
It is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Unanimous.
Have a good evening.
All right, thank you. All right, next up, it says on the agenda, the grant group, they're actually not coming in. Mr. Duro is gonna do a small little presentation. Partly because we're waiting on some data to come back, from the state for the grant group. For folks, who are here about this 5 corners traffic plan, I just want to tee it up and say this is literally the beginning stages. There's no decisions being made. This is us just talking about engaging with an engineer. This is not like, we're not deciding on speed bumps, or rotary, monorail, or anything. This is just to say, can we start talking to someone so we actually have a plan and have a menu of options? If that makes sense. So we're not committed to anything, but we'll go with what we've done in the past, then we'll go through it.
A monorail would be pretty cool.
I'm not, well,
Yes.
I would like that. Simpson style.
You wanted to show this up, this is real quick, just for the board, and for people watching, we're working on this today with Sean. 5 corners of this section is really the lots of green, just go to the next one, yes.
That's great.
Seth, sorry, go to the next one, please. That's not it.
Who's doing?
Seth's doing it at home.
Seth, can you, oh, no.
Go to the next one, please, Seth. So the DPW did an engineering study looking at pedestrian safety in that area in 2023. They looked at First Parish Cudworth and Beaver Dam, then Beaver Dam Road at Branch and Lawson Road. This was just pedestrian. The low hanging fruit, new signage, repaint the lines, put the temporary signs, pedestrian signs at the crosswalks in the summertime. Those are all done. Next one, please, Seth. That's just the target area. Next one, please. Looking towards Beaver Dam, looking towards Branch and Lawson. This is actually the worst intersection from traffic data, by far the most accidents. Next one, please. This is First Parish looking back towards the senior center, and then Cudworth looking out towards Beaver Dam. Next one, please. Speed locations, and we installed the speed sign. The police department installed the speed sign right at the church there. We do enforcement out there on a regular basis to try to slow things down. Next one, please. So we did not make any physical changes to the intersection. There were some recommendations in there to make physical changes, but because the board had not made any decisions on what we wanted to do with the old gates, we didn't make any physical changes to the intersection. So this was only pedestrians based on what's there. So what we need to do now is re-engage our traffic consultant on bringing a new one. Look at the First Parish Cudworth Beaver Dam intersection, with the understanding that we'll have housing on that site, 60+ units. Look at Beaver Dam, Branch and Lawson Road, which is actually the worst intersection. Include Branch and First Parish. Cudworth going the other way. If we're going to talk about traffic patterns out of the back of that parking lot. The intersection at Cudworth Countryway and Elm Street is not a good intersection, so we would have to add that. And then as we go through this, we have multiple public meetings. We have to include the neighborhood off Cudworth because they'll be impacted by it we go to Cudworth. Obviously, public safety is going to have to be involved, talking one-way, closing, opening roads. And then the study should include, but not limit to traffic management, pedestrian safety, and access. So it's a much bigger scope than what we looked at before, especially when you start coming down Cudworth. Because if you get on that back way at Cudworth, that intersection is probably almost as bad as Cudworth and First Parish. The incident really is coming First Parish going eastbound, we just make that right-hand sloop at 40 miles an hour, and people try to sneak out of Cudworth. It's just a bad intersection, so, but just to look at that doesn't do us any good, we have to look at the entire project.
Yeah.
Well, just, I assume you're gonna proceed with with an offer. You have to get some pricing in.
Yeah, we'll meet with, DPW, Kevin's at a, tree warden thing today and tomorrow, so we'll sit down at the end of the week. Whether we wanna re-engage this consultant or go out and find a different traffic consultant, put together a scope of what we want to look at and then get back to work.
Only if in his agreement, he had a discount clause for renewal for additional work.
Yeah, most of the work in terms of the traffic data came out of the senior center project anyway, so it's fairly recent. So we don't have to do a lot of that. The police department has additional data because we can do our own data collection that we can have, but it's really gonna be to try to look at what the movements would be coming out of any housing on the senior center that's gonna be there, where those people would go. If you make Cudworth one way towards Country Way, then you can't come out of the senior center now on the first pass, you take a left. So if you wanted to come this way, you'd have to take a right on the Cudworth, a right on the Country Way, and then left at the lights. So you'd have to look at all that traffic movement and find out who'd be going where and what would be the best.
Is that also gonna include the intersection where Ronnie Shones is?
No, we wouldn't include that because that's a signalized intersection. I know
That's
the
the oldest red light system, I think, on this side of it. Seaboard?
probably the lights are probably as old as the sundogs, yeah. The town actually looked at that
Sell tours.
probably
I
a
remember
decade
it
ago.
started, it was brand new.
And there was actually a plan to do a rotary roundabout there and,
I recall.
that was shot down very quickly, so that wouldn't be part of it, Jamie, just because it's a signalized intersection, so you won't have the same issues.
Considered safe already?
Where that light is going eastbound, where you're gonna kind of jog to the right, that's not ideal.
Yeah.
But I'd have to defer to the chief, I don't think Mark would have the traffic data, we could ask for it.
I just think we should move forward. And get the answers.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is money available, if more state money available, if they know we're also working on
Yes.
a housing, affordable housing.
Yes.
So I think that's also the key.
When it comes time to do any actual work, we will
Right.
apply for the state grant process.
Right,
One of the boxes would be affordable housing, the other would be,
right,
yeah, so for the construction part, that would be a check mark.
well, yeah, it's.
Yeah.
Definitely.
My main comment is as we start to build what we want people to look at, what we want an engineer to dig up, I think we don't have yet the actual, we have a lot of data on what we can collect on what exists there, we don't have the data on what we think is going to exist there, so we need a range.
Yeah, he's gonna have to extrapolate that based upon number of units, the recreation department will be able to get some data, obviously, from that, and then extrapolate on the traffic part. And then you would say, what's the worst case scenario? What are the worst?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bad, that intersection's bad now, whether we're doing affordable housing or not, we need to look at that intersection. It's just the affordable housing would give us a way to pay for it.
You know, without the data, you're gut alone, I tell you.
Oh, yeah, but we have to talk to the professionals.
Yes, and
And then-
what, sorry.
No, only other question was what's our timeline on this?
I'd have to defer to Sean's not here, we'll tell how long that would take, it'd probably be at least 6 months.
6 months to do the study or 6 months to find a person to do the study?
Oh, no, to do the study.
To do
Find a
the
person
study,
to
okay.
do the study, it shouldn't take that long at all.
Okay,
There's a limited number of really good traffic consultants that I would look to give this to,
yeah,
so. An engineer does not require the same type of procurement that regular.
and then does it have to be done during a certain season? I guess that's my other question.
Well, again, we have
traffic
the,
in
we
the
have the
summer,
traffic
just-
counts, so,
just-
yeah, you'd want some of the heavy traffic counts, we have a lot of those now.
Okay, okay,
And we talked about making sure that, there'll be a lot of public, meetings as well, so it's not that we're just gonna meet, but we're gonna have, engage the public to make sure there's some stuff.
right,
Yeah, I think once the consultant has got some of the preliminary data, they're gonna wanna engage with the public, and say, okay, what do you see, what would you like to see? Again, especially the neighborhood in the back there of Cudworth, that these ways to get in and out. Yeah, Chief Thompson and Chief Donovan, how are we gonna get in and out? But I think you wanna get them in early, so you don't go back to the plan and they say, yeah, no, we're not, right, so.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Any comments? I think there's some folks that like living in the area, or anyone comments, questions?
Is Savannah Green, 337 First Parish Road. I'm just hoping in addition to, you know, I know the traffic and the pedestrian is a component of that, where I think there's like at least 6 crosswalks in that area. I know one of the wishes from a lot of people is to have like a flashing light system, you know, put in, so when you are going to cross, you could push the button to kind of flag people that you're trying to cross, because it's so busy and everyone's looking every which way. You know, for cars alone, sometimes it's easy to miss people.
Yeah, that'd be part of the pedestrian access, you know, it's something that I think was recommended in the pedestrian study, but because we don't know if we're gonna reconfigure that.
Yeah.
We don't wanna put them in yet. But that would be part of it, whether we have those or maybe even a signalized intersection. I don't know,
Yeah.
I'm not an engineer,
I say the backup from the school traffic alone.
I'm just saying, everything will be on the table, and the engineer will come back and say, these are your options, these are the best, and then we would pick and choose what we've done,
Yeah, because I think that, again, like you were saying, seasons, time of day, because you can study in the summer, but you're not gonna see what happens when school's in session. You know, he had cars backed up over the hill, just trying to get through the lighted chunk.
Yeah, no.
And all the way down First Parish.
All the way down First Parish, I'm on the show
Yeah,
now,
so-
yeah. I could cut that one,
That's
so.
a good point. Great, all right, take a, thank you for that.
No, I
No,
don't know what to do.
all right, so
Just
we're
say
gonna-
a thank you for.
Yeah, well, once we have kind of a
giving
scope of
us
what we're looking for,
Yeah.
we'll just let the board take a look at it, make sure. Sean, get on that this week.
Great, perfect. That's great. All right. We're a little early, but that's good. Next. Petition article for, April 13th. First, we have Kyle O'Connor, petitioner for the creation of a, permanent Blades Road exercise zone. Rana?
So question,
Alright.
I know this is a number of people in the audience for the next petition. I'd be happy to let them go first and then I will come up. Would that work for you all?
Oh, no, that's, don't worry about it. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
we're
These
gonna.
guys
I
are
wanted to
really
know your
good.
mistakes, I wanted
We
to
wanna
offer.
hear about
I wanna hear what
exercise.
This is the most entertainment they've had in a long time.
Someone must have hit both.
Yeah,
There
oh,
you
there
go.
you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
All right.
We're here for both.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm here for Bill.
we're here for both.
Kyle O'Connor, 115 Wade Road.
All right.
Good, so I'm a neophyte when it comes to petitions. I would like to thank Nico for taking the time to meet with me and another citizen of the area to talk about the issue. But we're here today, I think you've all seen the text of the petition that's been signed and submitted, so I'm happy to answer questions. We prepared a little PowerPoint for you, but Nico, I think you're very familiar with the site conditions. And really the proposal and the position that we'd like the voters to have opportunity to vote on and approve is to create essentially a safe exercise zone, which I believe was in existence in effect with the previous conditions until the striping came in, the parking came in. And so what we're looking to do is protect that corridor. It's one of the few flat level streets that we have with very low traffic volumes in Scituate. It's a place where we often see people riding bikes. There's a lot of people who walk there, yourself included, Sherry, who use it as an exercise zone. And when the striping came in, what we did was essentially we created a 2-lane road when there was not one before. And that's created, as you can see in some of the pictures here, a very constrained one side of the street where it's abutting houses. We have a larger side of the street with striping. We now have parking that's happening for lifeguards, for stalls during certain periods of the year. The neighborhood was obviously voicing some concern about this at one point in time to you in the select board meeting. We came in and wanted to ask for it before we set for the petition, but really the purpose of the position is to allow the voters to have the chance to vote on an area of exercise corridor for walking, biking, et cetera. It's really intended to be a low cost item, but it really largely going to be the striping that's been done before, and then to keep that permanently an exercise designated area, not have the city, town, but Scituate decide to change.
Could I have a question?
Sure.
Isn't the striping area an indication of where one should be safely able to exercise and walk?
Well, sir, do you
Yeah.
like to walk against traffic or with traffic?
In the striping area, it doesn't really matter. Because that's why the striping
Yeah,
area.
but what I would tell you is many people have learned and were taught to walk so they can see vehicles coming from them. And we before had a one-lane road.
Actually, you had a 2-lane road that just wasn't striped.
Well,
That's where you're at.
okay, well, thank you for the clarification. I would note that all of mine is effectively like that, and with the exception of really the lanes mode and causeway.
Those are my only observations.
Questions, comments?
Well, I want to thank Mr. O'Connor for coming in. I think all of us have spent some time up there since the first issue started, back in early fall. But I think that, I took some time to spend some time up there with Kyle and a couple of other residents to really dig into the issue. I think there are a couple things that still remain. There's still some concern by the residents of the Glades about what, if any, future changes might happen to that area. I understand those concerns. I think that to the point of the exercise zone, you know, I thought an awful lot about this as we talked and before and after. I completely understand as a avid hiker and avid biker in town and all over the place, when you go with traffic, when you go against traffic, what types of safety precautions to use. But I do agree with Mr. Gilmore that the striping, while it may be different than what you typically do on any given normal road, there shouldn't be any car in the stripe zone at any point in time, which should make it a safe zone for a walker, a dog, a pedestrian, a kid on a bike, somebody playing soccer. I don't think that the striping in itself stops children from playing or stops anyone from doing anything up there. I would hope that any parent would teach their kids to watch out for cars. And, you know, when I was young, we used to car, game on, right? I mean, you got out of the road, you got back on the road, you put the hockey goal back in the middle of the street. I think it's still a valuable area for pedestrians. I think it's a valuable exercise zone, if that's the way you want to describe it. I don't think actually that the new striping creates a problem for that. I do think it takes some time to get used to it. And I imagine that there probably are still residents up in Glades that are not used to the new striping situation and the cars. But ultimately, talking to the police, talking to different people on all sides, the engineering department, I ultimately think that the striping that was done does make it a safer and more designated area. As far as the current 4 parking spaces that we designated for the lifeguards, that area is, I think, more than 3/10 of a mile long if you include the whole stretch. Those cars take up about 60-some feet. It is not an impediment to somebody kicking a soccer ball. I could hug a frisbee probably as far as I could throw it and still not reach that space. So in terms of removing the lifeguard spots, I'm certainly not going to be in favor of that because we did that specifically for a real reason, for safety on beaches, safety of people that are enjoying the beaches. But I do think that there's value to having an ongoing conversation and looking at, especially as we go through next summer. Unfortunately, because of the delays in the conversations we had, we really never got any data on the striping and on the traffic flow until the end. There were 4 days left in the lifeguard season when the striping got completed. So really, there's no good data on a real season of busy tourism and busy beaches for the new setup. I'd really like to follow through next summer to see what happens up there and what we can learn from it. I mentioned it to you that day. I mentioned it since as well to some other residents. I'd be more than happy to suggest to the police to put the signs back up there. We talked about the far end or the middle of the section for speed study again. So I'd be more than happy to collect more data next summer during the high season, so we have a better view of what is happening and or what has changed for better or possibly for worse with the new setup before we make decisions about changing what we already doing. So that's kind of how I feel about that. but I really appreciate the way you're bringing this, and I appreciate the effort you're putting into doing it. Really professional, thanks.
Yeah, I actually have a couple specific questions about the article. The whole concept of an exercise zone, is that something you thought up, or is this does another town do this, or?
I have no idea what he.
Oh, it's, okay, it's just you thought it up. No, I'm just more curious. I couldn't find anywhere that there was an exercise zone in a street area or zone or area. I looked, I couldn't find it anywhere, so I was just more curious on that. The speed limit on 15 miles per hour, there's nowhere in town that is 15 miles per hour, right?
Couple of ways.
But there's no public way, which this is a public way, that is 15 miles per hour. The lowest is
25 is our
20.
lowest unless it's a school zone, then it's 20.
20, there's a couple, I think the going over the bridge, the one-way bridge on Mordecai Lincoln is 22. But there's nowhere that's 15. So this would set a precedent in the town where we don't have
Yeah,
15.
currently under our bylaws, that'd be.
Right.
Actually, and there are other traffic rules and regs, so I don't even think you can.
I don't even think we can, right? So,
Because if you
like,
do that,
even
there are,
if it
and just
passes,
to clarify, for
it's,
Mr. O'Connor, if I remember previous conversations with Sean during traffic rules and regs discussions, if you try to set a speed limit that's actually lower, you have to then do a study, and if that study comes back with data showing that you should actually increase it, you're almost stuck increasing it rather than decreasing it. It's a very
Okay.
challenging rule, but.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
said in chief officer, it's like
That's the
8% of the average, and almost every time you do a speed study, the average speed is higher than we want to set.
which we already did a speed study.
We did
Oh, we
speed
did.
down, yeah.
Speed data.
We
Yeah,
did
speed
speed data, okay. So I guess partly this, I would love for our lawyers to look at, because like every bullet I see, don't think that we can even do it.
Brian's on it,
So
so.
I would appreciate, I know the part of this process is sending it to our like town council, but, I just, yes.
Yeah, Brian's listening, I won't have him opine tonight, but he's listening.
Right, and
so
I
he'll
would
know.
love for him to listen and to give us an opinion on that before we were to vote on it as a board, and, yeah, and then I also would love for him to opine on what the liability is to the town for taking off all of the striping of a road and inviting people to exercise on it while also traffic.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things I would like our attorneys.
Respectfully, none of that striping was there. And people were exercising.
And people came plus.
And the town chose to put in striping, not without any consultation plan or any discussion in front of the community, so I understand your
Well,
point.
then they're actually
Wait, I
trying to
wanna say-
conform to state.
Wait, can I just say one thing? Because there was a room filled with this many people telling me it was an unsafe road because people were speeding. So what we did was we did a traffic data, and then we had our professionals, including our police and DPW, stripe it so that it was safer, because we had a room of people complaining that it wasn't.
Yeah, and
So that was my recollection of the events.
if I could make a point, as Nico and I were talking about earlier, the collection of traffic data, the device that was collecting the data that you're referencing was at a point, and if you, Sheriff, you would put it back up to the presentation, was at a point where it really wasn't measuring the impacted area that you're referring to. It was at a point that was measuring up by the beach entrance, where you have a very narrow, almost one lane road anyways. Sherry, you mind putting the presentation back up?
Yeah, just
Yeah. So you have a situation where you have a road that compresses and then expands out where the seawall is.
Right.
The striping doesn't start until where if you mind just going back one page, please.
Go back to the beginning, Seth.
Yep, so.
Thank you.
You can see the green line, which is approximately around, 100 or 99 Glades Road. That's roughly where the striping starts.
Right.
It continues on and stops at where the seawall kind of juts over. If you go one more page, I'm sure the operator is here.
Seth, can you flip it?
Right.
Yeah, so you
It
can
starts
see,
a little bit before.
you can see in the pictures here how you have a roadway situation where you have cars that are legally parking on northbound lane. You have, you can see the striping, I'm not sure what the white line was. It then transitions to this double yellow line happening roughly about the start of the seawall, and then it expands out with that striping area. that you're talking
Okay, yeah,
about. What we're referring to is the entire area that you saw on the first one.
And that's why I think that it's important next summer. I'm very much in favor of bringing the equipment out, doing some more data collection during high season with the new striping. And I'm happy to consult with the neighbors to pick their spot that we all agree is a good spot to collect data. But I think, I think that before we get into a back and forth about was it the right data, was it the wrong data, I think that we should collect more data, but we're not gonna do it in the middle of January. It's not gonna be.
Yeah, and to be clear, the position that the citizens have signed, it's irrelevant, the data. The thing is, the citizens have signed a petition to have that striping. I understand your point, appreciate it, but I'm just being clear.
Again, this for this one and the next, sorry. We're here to collect information about this. We're not
The next
voting on
step.
this, the next step,
I
so.
do think we have.
Yeah, we have two. We got this gentleman and then Kristen, that's all, so.
Michael McDonald, 157 Glades Road, lived on Glades Road since 1983, the summer resident. I've done everything but between being hit by a car on Glades Road when I was a young kid, the drag racing with some people in this room who shall remain nameless. Historically, that was a marked off area in front of Mr. O'Connor's house where the white lines are sprayed. That used to have in words, no parking, every 50 to 100 feet down along, we call it the big wall. There used to never be a double line down the middle, and the white line that's closest to the houses now was never there once upon a time. Also, we're about 99 or so, once upon a time, those actually used to be marked off spots for parked cars across from 99 and across from the parking lot for the condominiums. So you still able to get one car down, and then it would open up to the large one. And we actually, it used to be much more heavier line at the beginning and at the end. There used to be a lot of no turns, dead end, please do not go past this area, so on and so forth. At the turnaround, we call it the turnaround at the condominiums, used to be the old mine line in, and then also where the big wall went to the small wall, as we call it. That used to also have a large area that said no turns beyond this point, slow down, do not go beyond, down towards our area, because there was no more turns down there. Some historical knowledge.
Cool. Appreciate it. Kristen, I think.
Yep, Kristen should be able to unmute, just your name, address, and go ahead with your comment. Thank you so much.
Hi, thank you. Kristen DeGaravilla, 121 Glades Road. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I wish I could be there in person. We've worked really hard with Nico to kind of gain an understanding of the intentions beyond the 4 lifeguard spots. And I think since there's some new people in the room, I just wanted to revisit the end of the summer conversations and remind everyone just kind of the spirit of where Kyle's coming from with the petition. So at the end of the summer, the select board approved the addition of the lifeguard spots, but there was also language in that approval for kind of open-ended Scituate beach sticker parking along the seawall in the approximate location of 109 Glades Road, with the number of spots obviously to be determined. So I think while some of the verbiage in listening to your feedback is probably maybe not going to fly with the attorneys or maybe needs to be massaged, I think the spirit of Kyle's petition is to make sure that that area remains for recreation and doesn't kind of end up as this potential beach sticker parking that the select board left open-ended in their vote at the end of July. So I just thought that was important information to share. And then also I wanted to say that I'm just really happy to hear the additional conversations around the importance of traffic studies and engaging the residents when significant changes are made to the traffic patterns. You guys were talking a lot about that in regards to the Gates neighborhood, and I would love to have, the same concern for safety in our area as well. That's all.
Great, thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Yes.
I just, first, I hope you don't put your nets on funny house anymore, know where you live, that'd be bad. Just from a process standpoint, so people know this article, the next article we'll be discussing, petition articles. State law allows residents to petition, put articles on town meeting for consideration. This board, the advisory board, they cannot be amended. They go on the warrant as submitted, and then town meeting can amend them, but if we talk tonight, I said, well, geez, we wanna change this, we wanna change that, it can't be done in this form, nor for the next article can it be done in this form, it would have to be done at town meeting. Okay, so you can petition, but the petitions go as submitted, and the reason they can't be changed is someone who signed might say, geez, I don't agree with that change, I wouldn't sign it. So, it will go to town meeting as they've put it in, the next one will go to town meeting as submitted, and then if people want to amend it on the floor of town meeting, that's what I have.
But just as a follow-up to that point, unless I'm mistaken, that doesn't prevent us from discussing with residents and possibly coming up with intelligent amendments that can be presented on the floor.
Yeah, I think it's helpful here to have this conversation, so this gentleman who's gonna be presenting at the meeting has heard all the back and forth, so maybe as he's presenting, he's able to deal with some of these things.
Yeah, for 3 months, you have time to.
Well, and we also do,
We can talk to town council, we can explore.
we also do vote on it. And the reason, eventually, not tonight, but will eventually vote on
You will vote
for
on
this one,
that word,
on this
correct.
specific thing, and then give our rationale as to why we voted for it or against it. And also, we consult with our attorneys based on.
Yeah, so I just wanted people to be aware of how the
Both
process
of
actually
them,
works.
yeah.
Rick, do you mind explaining, it sounds like there's another presentation to the board for you to vote on it, is that what you're saying?
No, so the board, later on, the board will vote on every single warrant article, whether in favor of it or against it.
Right,
And then they will say, we're in favor of this article because, or we're opposed to this article because.
and if they vote against it, does it still go on the ballot?
Still on, yeah, still on you want.
Okay.
It's on,
You're on.
You're on.
It's just their opinion that they're
But
for
sometimes
or
it's
against.
helpful for you to hear the
Yeah.
observations.
Understand, and then sometimes it's helpful for you to hear the observations.
Still is something.
This article and the next article go on town meeting as submitted by the residents.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Representative.
Okay.
This is on the amendment of general bylaw section 30910. Definition of a commercial fisherman. How are you?
Great, how are you?
Doing very well.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Joined here by Rob Green, who's the owner of the fishing vessel Elizabeth Marie. I'd like to first start off by thanking all of you for taking my phone call and being willing to listen to me and discuss this issue that's before you. For those of you in the audience that might not know me, I'm Patrick Kearney, and I'm here in support of my town meeting article to amend the town code by clarifying the definition of commercial fisherman. I want to begin by sharing why I think this issue is so personal to me. And it's no secret that I am a fisherman. Grew up lobstering with Tom Patterson on the Elizabeth Ann, Fred Daphne on the Acadia, later made it for Rob on a charter boat, the Elizabeth Marie. Today, I remain actively engaged in the industry through charter fishing, commercial striped bass, commercial bluefin tuna. Those early years on the water weren't just about earning a living for me. They taught me the values of hard work, respect for the ocean, and the reality that a working harbor is not just scenery, but a way of life here in Scituate. As the only legislator in the Commonwealth who has worked in the fishing industry, I've carried those lessons with me to the State House, and I've fought for a lot of the guys in this room to reopen unnecessary commercial closures and oppose projects that would harm fish biomass and degrade critical marine habitat. Those formative experiences ultimately led me to go to the Mass Maritime Academy, serve in the Navy, and dedicate my current career to fisheries management both locally and globally. A little background, I serve on NOAA's Highly Migratory Species Advisory Panel, and I'm a technical advisor to the International Commission on the Conservation of Atlantic Tuna. Through these roles, I work to ensure that fisheries are managed responsibly, sustainably, and equitably, both here in Massachusetts and around the world. But my heart and my home remain here in Scituate Harbor, and that's why I'm speaking today. The past 2 years, I've taught kids fishing camps through the Scituate Rec Department, and I've seen firsthand, or actually with Rob, and I've seen firsthand how impactful early experiences on the water can be. This article isn't about me today. It's about protecting opportunities for the next generation to engage in commercial fishing and the maritime economy in this harbor. It's about giving young people a chance to experience the inspiration and connection to the ocean that has shaped my life. The article before you is reasonable in scope, and it was carefully crafted. It clarifies who qualifies as a commercial fisherman under the town code. For charter and headboat operators, the definition is intentionally strict, and they only qualify if they hold all 3 of the following licenses: a Massachusetts Department of Marine Fisheries charter headboat permit, a federal commercially hybrid migratory species bluefin tuna permit, and a Massachusetts Department of Marine Fisheries limited entry state permit. All 3 are required, and this warrant aligns the town definition with existing state and federal regulations. Based on my conversations with the town vice chair of this board, the waterways liaison, select board member Harrison, I've been working closely with the Division of Marine Fisheries to collect the exact data on how many licenses exist locally, how many operators meet all of those criteria, and the actual landings of these operators. This is going to ensure that eligibility is based on objective, verifiable information and confirms that the definition reflects legitimate, active commercial activity effort, not incidental or recreational activity. I also want to acknowledge a real concern from some of the people in the commercial fishing community, many of whom are here today and many of whom I consider very good friends. Many commercial fishermen and scholars who already qualify as commercial have expressed a worry about this change. They see 40+ unassigned moorings in this harbor and are rightly concerned that some larger recreational or sport fishing boats that may be used occasionally but do not rely on the harbor to make a living can claim commercial access under this change. I agree with that concern 100%. The concern is valid, and it is why I addressed in paragraph 2 of the article that concern, which allows the town to review licenses, landings, and documented effort to ensure that only legitimate commercial operators who are actively relying on the harbor for part of their livelihoods are granted access. This protects the integrity of the working harbor and allows fair opportunity for those who genuinely depend on it. This article also addresses some inconsistency where charter operators who use the town pier to offload striped bass or commercial bluefin tuna are treated as commercial ratepayers when paying fees. We pay a $250 use fee to unload at the town pier, but under current interpretation, we're not considered commercial for access purposes. If legitimate operators cannot use the pier for offloading, they're effectively forced to buy fuel from TPG, which is the private equity owned company that owns both of the marinas here in the harbor. And rather than purchasing fuel directly from our friend and local operator, Sean Harris, we're forced to buy fuel from them. It unfairly disadvantages operators who follow the rules. It forces us into higher costs, and it makes it harder for small local businesses to survive. Another point I want to make is that the modern harbor and the fishery are under pressures that we have not seen previously. The 2 marinas I just mentioned, that are owned by private equity, have increased the dock rates to $360 a foot, putting access out of reach for many legitimate operators and folks that want to in the future. Over the last 20 years in Scituate, the average home price has increased by roughly 200%, but the average household income has only increased 75%. Blue-collar workers who have historically kept this harbor working are being priced out. The next generation faces enormous barriers to starting a career in the maritime business. The fishery itself has also changed. Quotas are down. Federal regulations such as seasonal closure to protect whales prevent many of the lobstermen in this harbor from fishing January to May. And during those months, they rely on other work to make ends meet. That does not make them any less of a commercial fisherman. And it brings me to a point that I want to make about the town's alternative proposal, which uses terms like primary or principal source of income, could be, not is, but could be deeply problematic. It introduces a lot of subjectivity for every fisherman that may have other sources of income and does not reflect the reality of the modern fishery. Charter and commercial operators bring enormous benefit to this community as well. They support local restaurants, bait shops, fuel docks, marine trades, and most importantly, tourism. They create jobs, they bring visitors to town, they provide opportunities for young people to learn about the ocean, and they are essential in maintaining a working waterfront and the character of this harbor. This article is about fairness, opportunity, and clarity. It ensures that the town applies an objective, verifiable standard to commercial operators. It protects access for those legitimate operations and helps maintain the future of this working harbor. It's not about giving anyone an unfair advantage. It's about leveling the playing field and protecting the livelihoods of those who currently contribute to our harbor's economy and heritage. That's why I respectfully ask the select board to strongly consider the article, and to the members of the board who say that they care about the fishing industry, I would ask that they consider everyone who makes a living in our working harbor, and please do everything that you can to protect the fabric of our community. I'm also joined virtually, who wasn't able to join us. He sent a letter of support from the Stellwagen Bank Charter Boat Association. He represents all of our local charter commercial operators. Mike Pearnock is on Zoom with us. You there, Mike?
Yeah, talk right now.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Dan, yes, raise his hand, hold that, that's what it is.
Yeah. Send us a letter too. Well, filibustering for you.
Yeah, Mike should be good.
You don't mind.
There's one.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you, Patrick. My name is Captain Mike Pearnock. I'm the president of the Stellwagen Bank Charter Boat Association. And I thank the Board of Selectmen for letting me have a few words tonight about this matter. I apologize, I could not make it. My wife had a slip and fall this morning. I've been at the ER all day and we're still trying to square that away. But thank you for allowing me to do this remotely. A little bit about Stellwagen Bank Charter Boat Association. We've been around for many years now, dating back to when the sanctuary was created. And the purpose of the association was to ensure that we continue to have access to the fishery. So as indicated, we've been around for many years representing the for-hire fleet. We also have commercial fishers as well as recreational anglers. Many of our members and officers are residents of Scituate and utilize your waterfront and harbor for their vessels, as well as many of our other members, which include the North Shore, South Shore, Cape and Islands, and South Coast. Transit your waters and utilize the infrastructure that's there, for fishery purposes. So, when we were kind of surprised that the definition didn't include the for-hire fleet, because there's multiple examples at the state as well as federal level where it is one and the same, and it is recognized as such. I mean, the most obvious of such is that the for-hire fleet is the bus that provides the recreational community access to the fishery, and that we are paid to take recreational anglers fishing. So that's a commercial operation. And that's reflected in such that at the state level, the Massachusetts Commercial Fisheries Commission includes commercial fisheries fixed and mobile gear types, and there specifically is a seat on that commission for the Stellwagen Bank Charter Boat Association as for-hire operators, because it is recognized by them that we are a commercial operation. Patrick mentioned there's other examples that as for-hire operators, we are allowed to catch bluefin tuna and sell it, as well as other select species, which is permitted at the state and federal level. So multiple examples are there or where it presently exists, and would assume that it would therefore be permitted and allowed here at the local level. Lastly, it's pointed out that the cost have changed over time, and the commercial fleet, the for-hire fleet that historically has been present in Scituate and other harbors in Massachusetts state waters are being pushed out. New private operations are coming in, increasing costs per foot that it's going so high, as well as insurance costs that one cannot afford to operate within these harbors and are getting pushed out. We have multiple examples of this at not only Scituate as well as many other harbors, and we need a mechanism to help keep the costs under control, keep the commercial and for-hire fleet together so they continue to have historical access to that infrastructure and to be able to fish our nearby waters. This is just the entire blue economy gets impacted by this. Commercial fleet, for-hire fleet, you have marinas, you have hotels, you have restaurants, tackle shops, boat operations, fueling. They all rely on these operations. To impact them impacts that entire blue economy. So ultimately, to sum it up, I want to thank you for providing me the time today. I believe you do have my correspondence on behalf of the Stellwagen Bank Charter Boat Association, and I hope that you do include this in the definition of a for-hire operation being commercial. Thank you very much.
What else?
They've said a lot of it, but I've been at the Scituate for about 23 years, chartering, and I've been at the Millwharf Marina for about 20. And in the last several years since it's been purchased, but as they already said, the prices are getting so high and unaffordable to run a business like. I rely on this is my income. And it's just getting really tough, and like Pat said earlier, I don't know how somebody's gonna start business like this and the prices that are here today. If there isn't some type of way to put your boat where it's not gonna, just pay so high you can't see the whether it's a mooring or they figure some charter row on the town docks, some way that could work with us. I mean, everything I have says commercial. I pay the state, I pay the town, I pay a lot of fees. Probably have close to 15 permits. And a lot of them are commercial. And I make a living with that, and it says the way it is, it seems like, well, it's not a business. I don't know how that can be said. It is a business. Some people may not have a business, and they don't use it as a business, and I understand that maybe they wouldn't fall in that category just because they have a license. But if it is your business, it's a business. How else? But
So here's the goal tonight, or we're not voting. We're here to learn about the article. Folks, I want to thank you for this board. There's a lot I'm learning about this. I'll be honest, this is probably one of my blind spots, is understanding exactly some of these different definitions and where that is. I mean, how we define a commercial freight. It's not like, if someone's pregnant or not. You are or not. Your commercial fisherman is.
The town has
So,
actually already done it.
Hold on. So exactly what we're not going to do is just try to talk over. We want to learn and figure out. So we want to make sure everything when we're talking, kind of go get the chairs in here. We're not going to be talking over each other, because I think a lot of folks want to talk and figure it out. And so again, we're here to learn, here to talk, and so now we'll ask some questions, and we'll go, and then we'll open it up to everybody for
I have
questions as
some
well.
questions, and maybe
Sure,
just to revisit the wording in your article a little bit. Can I understand, please, or explain to me, because somewhat ignorant on this, I must admit. The reason why you're restricting it to, and you focused on the fact that it's a very narrow written article in terms of the 3 licenses that are required. Educate the common person what we're talking about, these types of licenses, And why you think what do the three actually determine? Does that really determine what a real commercial fisherman is?
There's two pieces to that. There are concerns from the commercial fishing fleet across the board that if it just is opened to anyone that has a commercial bluefin tuna permit, which can be purchased online for $27, that there's going to be people with 50-foot, $2 million boats that are going to change the fabric of the harbor and be taking up moorings and space for the folks that are trying to make a living at working in the fishing industry versus somebody that is a charter captain, that has to pass a Coast Guard license exam, enroll in a random drug testing program, that is required to have a life raft and other safety, make significant investment into safety equipment, that they also have a limited entry permit, so they can't just walk off the street and buy, as I said, the commercial bluefin tuna permit online, a state limited entry permit, which they just switched commercial striped bass to limited entry, and a commercial bluefin tuna permit. The second paragraph of the article was also put in there for reason that I think all of the current charter operators and lobstermen, scallop operators, I can't speak for everybody, but I think that we all agree that we do not want to open the floodgates to illegitimate folks that may have these three licenses, may have a Coast Guard captain's license or a charter permit that is only taking one trip for 12 Saturdays from June to September 1st. You know, a lot of the charter fleet that is legitimate commercial operators are fishing from April 15th to when they close commercial bluefin tuna, middle of December, first week of December. The boats are in the water when it's cold. They go into the water when it's cold, and they come out when it's cold. They're operating 7.5 to 8 months of the year. I purposely tried to keep the scope of it narrow and add the second paragraph so that those illegitimate actors are not participating and that the town has the authority to see fishing effort, see fish landings, and the permits that they possess, so that if someone is posing as an illegitimate actor and not putting in the commercial effort and landings that would reflect a significant part of their livelihood, that those folks are not eligible for the commercial. I also don't pretend to have all of the answers. I understand that some people are going to disagree. I'm trying to, this issue has never been really present. There used to be two separate privately owned marinas. Folks that own those marinas would work with some of the charter operators. I'm looking at not only our harbor, but a place like Marshfield. It just had a marina purchased by a private equity group that kicked out 42 boats to rezone for entirely large sport fishing vessels. Many of those folks that were displaced are charter and commercial operators. We're seeing some of that price increase per Scituate. Some of the folks are able to absorb that cost because they have pre-existing books of business. I'm worried about the future. I'm worried about the kids that are in high school, that are in college, that might want to take a crack at this industry and working in commercial activity in this harbor, that are not going to be able to put their boat anywhere or afford to put their boat anywhere and make it a legitimate business.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a few questions and comments. So I appreciate you bringing this up. I think that one of my first points is that, as we heard discussed in the last article about process, regardless of what is discussed tonight, this, as stated currently, is going to go to town meeting. You'll have a chance to present at town meeting again like you did tonight. And so for anybody that's interested, pro or con, I just want to make sure everybody understands this isn't where it gets passed. It's going to be at town meeting with the town. And I'll say just bluntly, a lot of people in our town who love living near the ocean don't own boats, don't have a mooring, don't have a slip, aren't fishermen, don't ever put a rod in the water, a net in the water or anything. But they'll be at town meeting. So it's important for people who care to make sure that they understand what happens between here and April 13th, so that you can be there that night to make sure it gets to where we all feel it needs to be, and you have your time to push for those things. So I just want to make sure that's clear. There are a few things in here that I think are really important to recognize from my perspective. While I do believe the spirit of the petition is on target with trying to create equity, I think that the concept of equity in essence itself is a challenge because we're a small harbor. We're not Plymouth, we're not Chatham. We have a limited heart-shaped harbor. We have a limited number of moorings. We have a lot of people looking for those moorings, and we are always oversold on who has the option to have one. So when we talk about supply and demand curves here, it's not just about creating equity for anyone who wants to talk about it. It's really about deciding the culture, in my opinion, of our town, being a harbor town, being a New England town, being a fishing town, which a lot of harbor towns don't have a fishing fleet, is really important to recognize before we start saying that just anybody who has a certain license or a certain size boat, et cetera, should have equity in the game. I think that there are certainly some things in here that we could look at, and I encourage. One of the things that I challenged Pat with when we discussed this previous to the meeting was the idea that you have every right to bring, on behalf of yourself or anybody else in this position, a petition. But I think that one of the things I saw was the how just as much as the what. Not so much what are we trying to talk about as possibly redefining what a commercial boat fisherman is in Scituate. I think more importantly, to date, there hasn't been a conversation that has included essentially all the stakeholders. And I've encouraged you to look at that possibility, which there is still time for before this amendment, before this petition hits the floor on April 13th. And so what I'd really like to see is for not only the board's perspective, the advisory perspective, but really to bring fishermen, lobstermen, oyster farmers, sport fishermen, non-fishermen, recreational boaters, the harbor master's office, as well as for hire fishermen, together to understand that everybody can have a chance to discuss this before we start trying to push one definition or one old definition, one new definition. I think there's some very simple things in here that, regardless of what we hear in a minute from the public, really stand out to me. One of the big things is in paragraph 2, when we, and I do understand the spirit of trying to define it carefully. But in paragraph 2, you talk about based on a reasonable number of fishing trips. I think that that's a big challenge. Reasonable is not defined well enough, and I think that when we talk about essentially, again, supply and demand curve of having a very small number of moorings that would even be eligible here, I think reasonable isn't going to help us in terms of trying to define what a commercial fisherman from a for-hire boat is. So I think that would just be one of the things I would very clearly point to in that petition as is. I think that the important thing to recognize here is that when we're talking about this, even though we're really talking about a definition in a bylaw, what we're really talking about, and please, Mr. Kearney, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're really talking about moorings. We're really talking about the ability of a for-hire boat to be accessible to a mooring in our harbor, which currently it isn't under the commercial section. Which means that a for-hire boat would have to wait for on any of the lists, a number of many years to get onto a recreational boat or mooring list to get a mooring. So I understand the challenges, but I want to try and understand that it's really framed as a definition issue. To me, I see it as a policy protocol issue that really comes out of the harbor masters.
Can I comment in your analysis? You're pointing to the 2 words reasonable number in paragraph sentence 2, paragraph 2. But what you're not seeing is the next sentence which ties that to verifiable documentation recognized by Massachusetts Department of Marine Fisheries or applicable federal authorities. So I think he's giving us some leeway there to be able to create those standards if and when things arise and happen. Because I don't think you're gonna have one formula to throw at somebody that's really not a commercial fisherman. You're gonna have to figure that out and.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I think he qualifies himself pretty good there.
If I could just add one thing, the reason that it was incorporated, or the reason the word reasonable was used is anyone that's working on the waterfront knows that things like weather, circumstances of someone blowing an engine, trying to get parts for that engine during COVID, that there are outstanding circumstances where, if a boat sinks, an engine gets blown, it significantly impacts someone's ability to do those trips. So to put rigid standards in, to say, Rob, you blew an engine a couple of years ago, that took you out for the season. Someone else's boat in the harbor sank out at sea.
Fair,
So
I
it was,
understand.
again, it was carefully thought out there. I'm not trying to I'm open to the waterways committee proposing regulations, and they have the authority to do that, to create income limits and standards, just saying that you must make at least $50,000. I don't know what the number is.
Which would present the same
I'm
problems, same discussion.
Right, so.
That's in that sentence.
So again, I don't purport to have all the answers. I'm not looking to pit somebody against somebody else. There are 19 folks on the commercial mooring list. There's over 40 available moorings in the harbor that have not been assigned. There are only 24 people, based on state data, that forget the charter, forget the commercial bluefin and commercial bass permit. There are only 24 folks that have a charter permit in Scituate. So we're talking about a small number of folks that would have to have multiple different criteria, show effort, and language included to keep it legitimate, but language vague enough where we recognize weather standards and
I
other things
appreciate
that impact
I
us.
appreciate that feedback. And the big point is, all of this is for learning and discussion, and I'm not gonna go on, but I think that the main point I want to make was that even if this went to town meeting, and even if it passed the town meeting, this isn't an enforceable petition article, it simply shows the depth of what the people in town wanna see, so that the selectmen can guide that process forward.
This could be a
No,
change in
it's
the bylaw.
enforceable.
This is a
This could be an actual
So-
change in the bylaw,
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
But my point is that, as written, I don't see it being good enough to give, whether it's the Waterways Commission, the Harbor Master, or even the fisherman community itself, the best ability to understand who's on, who's off, what defines that, what happens when an engine blows, what happens when, there's too many storms in the summer. It's too vague still. I appreciate the spirit of it, but I think the biggest part I have is simply that the petition has been brought really without, from what I can see, being a wide engagement of the stakeholders involved, and I encourage that to happen. So that's my main point.
Okay, well, this is what we're gonna start that engagement right here. I think we've got some commercial fishermen, I think we've got some oystermen, I think we have some recreational fishermen. So again, if you could address your comments to us. If you've got questions, again, we're trying to learn more. If you've got questions, you've got comments, this is now the time so we can get more light. I know our vice has some more questions to us. And you need, yes, your name and address.
I have some things I wanna ask, but let's have.
Yeah. All right. Anyone, thoughts, concern? Yes, gentleman right here, just name and address for the record. I always forget that. Hold on, sorry.
Dave Haley, Marsh Lab. I've been on Waterways for 12 years. This came up on Waterways, 3 or 4 years ago? The definition. They went back and found somewhere that to provide your principal source of income was 51% through sale and cash. which the charter guys aren't selling catch unless it's a tuna. But you're still looking at, the majority of your income. I know every guy in here right now can walk into Stephen's office with their tax return and show about 98% of their income comes through the sale of catch. That, I think, is a fine definition. I think anybody in here is willing to basically walk down to the paperwork and explain this is for the commission. As far as a reasonable amount of trips, when we blow a motor, we fix it because this is how we work. This is when if you get a flat tire, you quit your job, this is what we do. 365. It's not a-
So I mean, that was a question I had is that, I've heard some people say, someone's commercial fishing, they might have a second job or something else. It's not really always 51% that some of their income could come from something else. Is that true? Is that not true? Again, I don't know. This is my time to ask. Is that true? It could be true. So you could have.
And the
some-
caveat to that would be, even if I'm making most of my income fishing, blow out my knee, I still can go to my other job, but I can't fish, now all of a sudden my income drops the next year, it doesn't meet the 51%. So I don't think there's one answer that's gonna fit, because there's always gonna be a what if, right? So I think we gotta try to come up with the one that covers as much as we can. The goal is to encourage commercial fishermen to keep someone like me from just writing a check, buying a couple licenses, and jumping out of a commercial mooring license, sitting on my boat also. Because the closest I get to fishing is the Seminole School Job.
And that's
And that's fantastic.
when we were talking about this, people, I've always looked at this, I said, I almost wish there were like 3 tiers, because I want to protect we know there's like, okay, you actually are commercial, you're fishing, and again, I don't do this, I sit behind a desk all day. Who are actually out there fishing, but then I understand the charter guys, that's like tier 2, right? So tier 1 is that, tier 2 is like the charter rigs, they do bring, money in and sport fishing, so it's important. And then third, hate to say it, for the recreational guys, but that would be like the third bucket that I would want to kind of protect if you had it. So that's why it's for us to learn this about these definitions. That's why we need to learn more from you folks.
Yes,
Yeah.
my name's Evan Ames,
Yeah.
8 Sassaman Road. Just a quick comment. So the people that pay for charters, they're getting paid from people, and they're not getting paid from the species that they're landing. And they're trying to change the definition of commercial fishermen. So that's just something that I want to add. Thank you.
Good point.
Don't they sell the tuna?
Every once in a while, maybe.
Yeah.
But they're not solely out targeting tuna.
Correct.
Yes.
Gentleman in the back. Kevin.
Kevin Norton, Scituate, Mass.
Kevin, could you stand up so we can hear better? Thank you.
Sure. So, I'm gonna go back, there's a couple different ways for me. What's the street? 8 Sangay Lane. I operate the Miss Emily Scituate, it's a 70-foot steel dragger. I've been doing it now for 25 years out of Scituate. And I have to thank them for selecting. You guys are great. You always support local fishing, commercial fishing. You jump through hoops for us, and we really do appreciate that. This to me kind of the petition to me just kind of came in from left field. I thought we'd already, like Dave said, we'd already gone through this and decided this years ago. I'll tell you my quick thing. This is just so for us to go commercial fishing, I'm the president of our sector, which is sector 12, which means I'm the president of the group that goes commercial fishing out of Scituate. We have like 8 vessels. We hold about 30 permits. So we control the permits for the commercial guys to go fishing. An average permit for our boats is about $200,000. What Pat listed off there was about $100 of permits. So there's a big disconnect in the amount of money that people spend on permits between the charter, striped bass, tuna group compared to the people that have groundfish permits and have lobster permits, scallop permits. And the scallop permit alone right now is over $100,000. And also the vessels that we have to take care of and maintain are usually a little bit larger vessels. And the other big point that we had years ago, this came up, I don't know if it was with the town, but you put the charter guys on moorings, they gotta pick up and drop off charters somewhere. So then the town pier becomes or another place like the town pier becomes a drop off spot.
You know, and then there's the parking issue, there's a lot of issues, and then there's issues with, you know, how they get up and down ladders, the safety concerns, you know, that the commercial fishermen are used to, but people that are coming to pay for a charter are used to walking down a gangway. You know, so there's a lot of issues with putting charter guys and putting, you know, people that are paying $1,200, whatever it is for a charter today, and having them climb down a ladder for it. You know, there's a lot of big parts of that. You know, and I talked to Pat earlier. I do understand that the hoppers are, everything's getting expensive. I do get it. I'm always a firm believer in trying to get new people into the industry. I've always said I'd help any guy that wanted to get started anywhere. But we have to have a definition of a commercial fisherman for the town's sake, so that these few moorings that we have go to the right people. And if we only have a few moorings, they go to the guy who is going to actually make this his career. Not do a dozen charters a year, I'm sorry, but that's what it is. You know, and also have an investment of buying a permit that costs $100,000. You know, not $100. $27 tuna permit, that's $75, $100 striping permit, to me, is not a commercial fisherman. It means you're a fisherman, and it means you're not supporting your family. And I'm sorry, that comes off a little bit. I know, I just can't see you being able to. Thank you.
And I was just to clarify, what my fear was when the Miss Emily food truck, you know, you make $1 million from it. If that's more than 51, because I know you're a,
Right, well, so
say
I-
you're
I-
a real commercial, you know what I mean?
I
Like,
saw that too.
I just want to make sure
I
that,
did, I think that too, but you know what, I'm on the town pier.
Yeah.
I'm on the town pier, it doesn't really affect me, I'm never gonna be on a mooring, none of this really affects me, it really doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm more in it for the new guy coming into the industry, just like what Pat said. I'm looking for there to be a place where if someone shows up and says, I wanna buy a lobster boat, I wanna buy a scallop boat, we have a spot for them. And we have a permit for them, I wanna go as far as that and say, the town has a permit for them, that's my next step.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But, you know, and then in the Miss Emily food truck, if that does great, and that was the seal of my catch, that was my demise, that's, you know.
that's a good demise. No, that's what I mean, we know who's actually, we didn't want to price someone out, that's what I
No,
mean, but I
I
didn't
agree.
want to
Someone
protect
who's
that, that
gonna
was
have
my
enough-
fear.
Someone jumping into this industry is gonna have enough to get a boat and get a permit.
Yeah.
And we should,
Yeah.
you know, anything we can do.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, that's why I'm asking, to make sure it's not. There's others, any,
Can I ask Mr. Norton one question? So Pat outlined licenses that would qualify for a commercial.
Yep.
What other licenses that you're talking about, that did say, okay, really to be a commercial fisherman?
So I have
You
to
would need
have,
to have one of the following.
so I have to have a ground fish permit, and I have to have a state permit to be able to sell my catch. And to land in state waters and to fish in state waters. So a federal ground fish permit right now for a boat my size starts at about $250 to about $1 million. And then a mass coastal permit to sell your catch in Massachusetts and to have access to Massachusetts state waters for a boat my size with, I do have a scallop endorsement on mine, is probably about another 200.
How big is the boat?
70 feet. But I mean, that's not to say the other draggers in Scituate, the 60-footers and the 55-footers, some of those guys have permits that cost more than I do. A permit is, you know, $200,000 or $300,000 now, and they've come way down in price. A lot of people pay more than that for.
It's quite a conundrum, isn't it? Yeah. Because how do we, I respect the integrity of the writer of the article to say he's talking about a young individual that wants to start and wants to get involved. I don't know what you
All right,
did.
so
20 years ago.
let's just start.
That's
I'm gonna keep going then.
Yeah.
So we do have a permit bank. We do have a permit bank on the South Shore that we try to do. So what we do is if we have guys that try to retire out of the business, we don't want their permit to end up in New Bedford or end up somewhere where someone else is gonna buy it. We're gonna try to buy it in Scituate. We already bought a few permits through our group. So that if a young guy does come along, I have a crew member and he says, I really would like to get going, I have a permit that they could start with. Because I know how hard it is, and the person that I started with, John Shea, back in, 25 years ago, sold me his permit for $45,000, which is unheard of. But the same thing has to happen again if we want to keep new blood in this business. You can't get $300,000 out of the end, it's never gonna happen. Not with the amount of money you can make in a year, because you can never take care of the loan. It's gonna take people helping them out. And people wanting the future of the fishing industry to stay in Scituate. And that's what we try to do with permit banks. Same thing, I don't want any permits to leave Scituate.
we're good, Eddie, and then back to you. Eddie on Zoom, and then we'll come back to this gentleman.
Mr. Eddie, you should be able to unmute just your name, address, and go ahead with your comment. Thank you so much.
Yeah, how you doing? Eddie O'Donnell, 19 Chet Way. I wish I could be there tonight, but I'm down at Mass Maritime at school. I just wanted to support Pat's amendment and say, you know, I'm young, I'm only 19. Just if I wanted to get into this business, there's no way I could do it paying 10 grand plus for a slip, or, you know, I just think this is a great opportunity for someone like me to get into the business. And I think I just wanted to show support for what's being shown tonight. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
Just really quick, and then I think Jared will have something he wants to say. So I'll be a third generation lobsterman. My great grandfather did it. This is my grandfather. He still does it. He's 76. And I just feel like that changing the definition of commercial fishermen could displace kids like me that want to take this as a career, that want a mooring, you know what I mean, for the future. And as opposed to if it was given to someone that, say, runs a charter that doesn't sell their catch and is only fishing 6 months out of the year. We fish till February. We're still fishing. Half these guys just got off the water. So I just want that to be known. Thank you. Thank you.
Jared Pollard, 15 Duty Road.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's all right.
So
Sorry.
I think that a big issue that most of us have is like the permits that Pat's talking about versus the permits that we're talking about, right? So to get a charter license, tuna license, and a striper license up until 4 days ago. Basically, I mean, to get a charter license, you have to have a 6-pack license, you have to take a test through the Coast Guard. But it's all open access, right? You don't, anybody can do it. The mooring thing in Scituate Harbor is, everybody in Scituate knows, it's a huge, you know, people would do anything to get 40-foot mooring, right? There's guys that have been on the recreational 40-foot list for 18, 19 years, right? So if you're a guy that's been on that list for 19 years, or maybe not 19, say 7 years, and you got another 12, 13 years ahead of you, why wouldn't you just go take a Coast Guard test, get the permits that you need, spend a couple $100, and now all of a sudden meet the criteria to get onto the commercial list, which tends to go a lot faster because guys buy boats, sell boats, you know what I mean? And most of the commercial moorings are 40-foot plus. So I think that's one of our big fears, is like, all of a sudden now, we're gonna have these guys, and you know, Pat hasn't written like, whatever, substantial amount of money from, or whatever, but what justifies that? Everybody that comes down here, you know, what boat's a fishing boat, which one's not. It's almost like, I don't.
So no, I don't.
It's.
I've been struggling with the same thing. What you were saying earlier.
I like Pat and
No,
Rob,
but-
and we've done business together. I recommend both of them to people asking me, who do I call for a charter? So like, it's not specifically against them, but at the same time, I think it opens a can of worms that will make a lot of people be able to qualify that, and then you guys like Evan, who's upcoming, you know, he's a young guy working for his grandfather, gonna get his own boat soon. He'll never get a mooring because he's gonna be behind, you know, Joe Schmo, who just did all this stuff, and now he's got some half-ass fishing boat sitting on that mooring. But he meets the criteria.
Appreciate it. That's great. Pete, this guy's been waiting, and I'll come right back, sorry.
Got another one online too.
Oh, Joe, yeah. Yep, you're on.
Hi, my name's Captain Brad White from Marshfield. I grew up in Scituate. I live at 149 Old Main Street, Marshfield Hills. And thank you for having this evening. I'm a big believer of our harbor. I've been using the harbor for starting my 55th year. And I have a couple of businesses. One of them is called Whitecap Charters, and we do eco tours, whale watches, weddings, corporate events, and burials at sea. And we're very busy. We've brought over, I just did a count of our manifests, knowing Patrick was having this entry tonight. Over 5,500 people I've brought to Scituate in 20 years. That's a lot of people. So they pay our fee to go out and do what we do, but then they spend another $100 or $500 for hotels, dinners, equipment, and gear. And pretty soon, that's $1 million. So it's very important to preserve. And why I'm saying that is what Jared was just saying, just trickled something to me. When I was a kid here, I remember there were 30 big fishing boats. Now there's what, 7? Maybe 8? And we need to preserve that. It is hard to get into. And there's a lot of gray hair out there. There's not a lot of young bucks, and that's what we need, because we are a sister harbor to New Bedford, the #1 harbor in the country, along with Gloucester. And I think it's important that we define that commercial can mean many things today. It can mean big boat fishing, small boat fishing, eco tours, scuba, mooring business, all the different subsets that we have. So to educate the board from my small knowledge is that we have a real working machine, a real company called Scituate Harbor. And it feeds everybody. I mean, the guys in here, I work with many of them many times over, because we might need equipment, we might need some help because of overflow. So it's a very symbiotic relationship with the rank and file of Scituate Harbor. But what's happening is the feds and the state are squeezing with restrictions, and that's why I've gone from 30 boats to 7 or 8. And we have, I understand, 40 moorings that have been unassigned. Those are like 40 little engines that aren't producing for the town, aren't producing for people's families, aren't letting young kids get in to use our facility. Another important thing, and I'll close on this, is that restrictions are so tough. I remember it was 1985. I was working in Boston at the Sharp Image Corporation. We just brought the company public. And then something came out that disturbed the whole retail environment in a nice way. It was called ADA compliance. And we're fortunate in Scituate that we have ADA compliant ramps to invite folks to walk down the ramp, not have to climb down a ladder, and to allow wheelchairs to come aboard. And I can tell you, a lot of people find us online because we promote ADA access. We promote being able to get on the boat with a walker or a cane or a wheelchair. So we have the hard stuff done. And by being able to kind of redeploy and evaluate what the word commercial means, I think is imperative that you have this bigger discussion with a lot more people to learn about what the stakeholders want or what they need or what they demand. But I'll tell you something, the fishery will become extinct because of dock costs, monopolizing fuel costs in Scituate, and lack of space to park your boat, to moor your boat in a harbor that holds, I think, what do we have, Michael, 900 moorings?
Oh, no, not even
600?
less than 600.
So 600 moorings, and how many slip spaces? 1,000 maybe?
I believe.
Yeah, so maybe 15, 1,600. And today's boating is a lot different than when I was like this. We used to have 60-foot beautiful wooden boats, and now we have 23-foot center consoles. Still a boat. It's the greatest thing to get out in the water with your dad and your mom. But the price and barrier to entry is getting very, very high. And I was astonished to hear today that one of the marinas is going to 400 a foot. That's crazy money. So taking advantage, maybe that we should micro focus on that to determine the law of diminishing returns, because you can only add so much before people start to drop out. So bottom line is, this is a really important discussion, and it involves everybody that uses the harbor that owns a boat. And it also helps our restaurants, which are huge. You know, as a kid, we had 2 restaurants. Now there are like 7, right? And our customers use them. So don't underestimate what commercial means, because it means a lot of different things. for, again, closing on ecotourism and recreational fun. And one last thing is, I've always wanted to, and I still am on the quest, I'm on the list for a commercial permit, a commercial mooring. There used to be a boat called the Joseph. It was a blue boat right off of the town pier. And it was a mackerel fishing boat. And you could take kids out for $7 a head. They catch all the mackerel they can. Now it's a little bit limited. But it was a great way to have Scituate have a multi-passenger vessel. There are different types of vessels. Six-pack vessel, and there's a commercial vessel that's more than 6 passengers. And we have no more than 6 passenger vessels in the town of Scituate that have a license better than 1 mile offshore. All right. So when you want to catch fish, there are more fish more than a mile offshore. So anyway, I'd love to find a multi-passenger vessel that can bring this back to life. And to do so, we need a commercial mooring to do that of size. And so there are needs all around, whether it's a big boat, small boat, or intermediate boat, because it's a very important resource to our town of Scituate. Thank you.
Michael online and then
Thank you. And I just wanted some follow-up. Mike Peardnock, president of the Stellwagen Bank Charter Boat Association. I recognize many people in the crowd, many of which fished for many years. And the point that Captain Brad White just made about the number of for-hire vessels that used to be in Scituate and Green Harbor and elsewhere has significantly reduced. The groundfish fleet in the room is down to just a few boats that used to be in Scituate. We used to have unlimited, not unlimited, but back in 2010, cod had returned to sustainable levels, and the groundfish fleet and the for-hire fleet was booming. 2014, it went to zero cod possession. We're still mostly at zero cod possession. That has destroyed the for-hire fleet as well as the groundfish fleet to numbers that have significantly reduced. So what are we left with? We're left with other options. And I look at this, what's being proposed here is a mechanism to try to help those that are still here survive and cost effectively be able to have a mooring, as well as a young fella come along to be able to afford to get a mooring and have a business. We have a lot of these questions have been brought up about what is commercial. That has been well vetted, and there's guys in this room that know that's the case for the last 20 years, annually, at meetings. And there are a lot of good points being made up, and it's been discussed at the state and federal level, and they've come up with the definitions that define what for-hire operators can catch bluefin and other species. They are permitted to do such. And I don't know why we would then have it inconsistent that they're not allowed to do such. If you get into more specifics, which some of the selectmen pointed out, that's where it's gray. And that's where those specifics aren't pointed out, because you can't get into those gray areas, because then it doesn't work. But ultimately, you have a number of different moorings available. They're not being used at this point. I would assume you want the revenue generated, and I would hope that it would go to the commercial fleet as well as the for-hire operators, because we sit here and are disappointed that we're being pushed out, because the one that can afford the 65-foot Viking and all the bells and whistles can afford that, they're pushing us out because we can't afford that cost per foot. We can't afford that insurance. We're asking the same thing as our commercial brothers that are sitting in that room today that don't want the for-hire fleet to have the same access historically to the harbor, to be able to moor there and be able to then go and utilize the waters. That historic access needs to be preserved for the commercial people in that room as well as the for-hire fleet. We can't forget that. So I thank you. Thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Just real quick, in Scituate in particular is, like a set group in here, and a lot of times boats are bought by kids that are working on those boats, that have worked on those boats for years, as his grandfather and Trent. Like these guys will buy boats that are already in the harbor. There's stuff written up through the harbor master where you can take over that mooring for 2 years. Hopefully your name's on that list. So that's what I did when I bought my first boat, and I bought it from Eddie Duffy, and in 2 years' time, my name came to the top and boom, slid right in. So that's somewhat in place, and we try to do that because there's so many slices to the pie up there as far as the amount of lobsters there are. When you start bringing in permits from other towns, now all of a sudden we're dividing that pizza up into thinner slices. So we're trying to get those slices as big as we can for the handful of guys who are here, trying to keep it like that. So that's an important thing to think about. I mean, we don't really want to open up our arms and say, yeah, sure, bring it in. Everybody, come on in and buy a boat, a permit, set gear wherever you want. That doesn't work out.
We're gonna go, appreciate it.
You want to go online first?
Yeah, so we're gonna go, do you have something too, or, okay, we're gonna go to Colleen back there, and then Susan, and then I think. Oh, yeah, it's okay, I didn't see the other.
Thank
Colleen,
you.
sorry, go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you. Colleen Burgess, Oceanside Drive. I just wanted to quickly mention that it was just about a year ago so that Scituate passed the right to fish bylaw. And this article as written does not seem congruent with that, in that for every mooring that you give to a charter boat, you're taking one away from the commercial fishermen sitting in the room. So I just wanted to say, I don't think that you can support I find difficulty in supporting the right to fish where we made a promise to the local fishermen and this warrant as it's currently written. That's all. Thank you.
Appreciate it, thank you. Dave, and then.
Dave dropped me 356 Platte Road. Just a few things I'd like to add to this discussion, which I think is very helpful for not only here tonight, but the fishery and the harbor and everything that goes on. My dad started that commercial list back in the day with, I think, then Town Administrator McCann and either Harbor Master Fenton or Elmer Fuller. And so myself, and I would say, except for Brandon, that he hasn't given his up yet, we've all received the mooring for the business that we run. Not necessarily at the right time, but that the system worked and it was a base amount of commercial moorings for commercial boats and commercial operations. So some of the things that I've gone through over the last few days, and I talked to Patrick and Link. I'm a friend of Patrick, and we probably couldn't be more different. Okay, so I explained to him, I don't think a commercial fisherman is someone who gets paid before they do the activity. Like a head boat. That's my belief, and it's been my belief for a number of years. However, I still believe that as a working waterfront in our harbor, there are multiple businesses that are water dependent that we need, whether it be a mooring service, whether it be a launch service, whether it be a dive service, whether it be anything, a towboat service, anything like that. So I think it's important that as the recreation explodes around here, certain aspects of those functions will get pushed aside. And I don't think that, it's not something my dad would have wanted to have happen. It certainly isn't something that I would want to have happen. So, those are just some thoughts on that. I believe we do have to protect the working waterfront. Some of the things I read through over the past few weeks, are we defining the vessel? Are we defining the person? Or are we defining the activity? Can you have a lobster license with a 28-foot Key West? Okay, that's when we get into revenue, when we get into income, we get into all those things. And everybody in this room has had a point in their time in their career where they did more than just what they were permitted to do. Perhaps not by choice, but because that's what they had to do to make it happen. So I'm cognizant of that and the people in the room, and the effort that we put in, the attraction that we may have to visitors to our town that come in and see the activity and ask the questions and have the conversation and get in your way and, okay, let's move it along and get things to do, Specific to the striper permit, it's been important to me in the business, in my business, as an endorsement to my lobster license for the state. And with all due respect, when Stephen spoke at Waterways in December, who said that somebody who lands 100 pounds of stripers at 20 cents a pound is not making a living at it. And I agree with that. But those numbers couldn't be more different. We strive to get 2,000 or 3,000 pounds of stripers a year during the season. It's a $3.5 million fishery. It's important to our restaurants. We work hard, or I have worked hard over the last couple of years to try to connect what we catch in front of our lighthouse to be served at a restaurant in our harbor. And as easy as that may sound, it's extremely difficult to do. There's a number of different, what I'm trying to get to is, there's a number of different things that come into this. But I really want to focus on what are we defining? The activity, the vessel, yeah, so it's, again, 680,000 pounds of stripers is what the state allows to be landed. They shut it off at about 50,000 above. Right in there, in those numbers. We talk at Waterways, I've attended Waterways meetings for a number of years. You know, we talked about marina expansion. This is the perfect opportunity for the harbor master, the select board, the Waterways to sit down and say, okay, we're going to expand the marina. What exactly can we address here, and can we address the higher fleet to be part of that expansion? Okay, we're trying to make room, and the economic benefit to a higher vessel is not questioned. What it adds to the town. So as a kid growing up, you worked your way through. You were a deckhand, you were a lumber on the pier, you painted bottoms of boats at the boatyard over at Young's Boatyard. You might get $20 for the day. I'm sure Tucker had a few bottoms he painted over there, and we worked our way through. There were mossers. Okay, there was a progression to become a captain. And then you're able to do that, and then you have to find your exit strategy. Right? You spend 40 years trying to get into something and try to get out of it. Okay, not a lot of people. Some people check out, and that's their plan. That's okay. Some people want to pass that on to the next generation. So I'm proud to be a lobsterman in this town. I'm proud to have kids that I have had work with me. I'm proud that those kids have gone on to Mass Maritime to be educated and further their career far better than this guy will ever have. But we have to be cognizant of the big picture and just not the small. We got to address this is something that needs to be addressed, and I think there's ways to address it. And I think, and most certainly, they should be addressed not at the expense of the existing fleet that we have. And furthermore, there are moorings, there are commercial moorings. They've been assigned to commercial entities that they're not used in a commercial way. There's a lot of little pieces that can make this all work better. We got guys waiting on a commercial list for years. And a commercial mooring has been assigned to somebody and they're not there. You know, that's in the fine details. That's what I think we need to do. And we shouldn't be, you know, I work on a charter boat in the spring before I can set my traps. I worked with Rock Green. I learned a lot. Okay. As a kid growing up, we had Tommy Stearns, we had Carl Heining, and we had the St. Joseph. I don't remember any other for hire vessels or charter boats in the harbor, and that's where we are today. So, and just a couple of questions. Can for hire vessels get on the waiting list for the town marinas? I don't know that answer, which would be nice to hear.
No restriction.
There's no restriction.
Do that.
I didn't know, that's why I asked. And lastly, the mooring doesn't go to the business when somebody gets out of this in the harbor. Okay, you can sell everything. But the mooring goes back in the pool. That may have not been the intent when my dad started discussing that whole thing back in the day, but I think what it shows is there's a way, if you're on the list, there's a way that it happens in the right way. And I think we need to keep maintaining that. So that's all I have to say.
Phyllis Carl over at 26 Youth Road. He kind of took my point that I was going to make, because I know that Mr. Green does make his living doing the summer jobs that he does, but the marinas are getting very expensive. So my thought was, we were coming out, But, would it be possible to take maybe out of the 24 people that you're talking about, maybe 12 town slips to accommodate that group? Because his charter people can have to go down, really have to go down up here, you know, kind of a thing. These guys are not, they're not jumping onto the lobster boats, they're jumping onto nice boats.
Right.
You know, the yacht club would be.
Well, I didn't think my vote wasn't nice, but.
No.
Hold on, wait a minute.
Oh, that's what I'm saying, I'm glad you're not gonna take anybody down, something like that, you need,
That's why I
you know,
That's a recommendation, just go to the waterways.
well,
bring
that's
that up and
where,
make that-
where I'm
Yeah.
thinking that maybe that might be a happy medium to accommodate, you know, that, the needs of that group that you're talking.
As I stated earlier, I don't pretend to have all the answers. I'm not saying that this is perfect. There's a need right now to a changing circumstance in the harbor where guys that do make their full-time living, or significant parts of their living are not, needs are not being addressed and they're being priced out. So if there is reasonable thing that's presented by the towns that allows that access to those boats, then I think that most of the for-hire fleet is all ears and is supportive of that.
And a slim
You could just
in
go-
the town would keep the costs down and, okay, sorry, I got.
I agree with the person.
Yeah. Again, I think that's gonna be a lot of what we're talking about in the future, because it seems pretty apparent we're gonna need to have more meetings. The time.
Mr. Chair, aren't we also endeavoring on regridding the harbor anyways? Isn't there,
Yes.
Yes.
that's
Heading that way.
kind of working hand in hand here on that.
Right. Yeah, no, we're correct. You're absolutely right. You haven't spoken yet, so I'll let you and then.
Yeah.
Big.
Yes, yes, sir.
Rich Fullock, 166 on Street, Marshfield. I got a couple things because there's been a lot of great things that have been said. But the first thing we started on was, this was talking about the definition of commercial fisherman. When he brings it up, it's for hire. He's not talking about commercial, he's talking about a for hire. So in order to get a commercial lobster license, let's say, you have to work for at least 2 years in the commercial fishing industry. You have to show proof of your taxes and everything. That's how you make your living in order to even qualify to get a permit. Like you guys are saying, anyone can go and buy a group and tuna firm or everything. So if we're going on definition of commercial fishermen, that's how you have to prove to the state Division of Marine Fisheries, you're actually a commercial fisherman before you can even become a real commercial fisherman and own a license. Couple of things, you had a great comment that there's, 3 stages, 3 tiers, a commercial fisherman, a for hire, and a recreation guy. Perfect point. So you're kind of acknowledging the same thing. This is a commercial fisherman, this is a for hire, this is a recreation. And Nico's point of, is this about commercial fishermen or is this about charter guys wanting commercial mooring because their price is too high at the dock? Pretty much all of that.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Here and then, yeah.
After that quickly, the way that it was drafted, and I tried to, if I wasn't clear, apologies, is to include one, a for-hire license, which requires you to have passed a Coast Guard exam and be enrolled in a random drug testing program and pass a 719K medical examination. 2, not or, but and, a commercial, strike that, a limited entry state permit, which is no longer purchasable on the website for anyone to go on. That's been capped by the state. And a commercial bluefin tuna approach. It's not one, all of. Most of the people that have those 3 that are participating full-time, significant parts of their income, are willing to show those landings, willing to show those permits, are spending significant amounts of money on their boat, on their business operations, and bringing folks into town to spend money. We're not trying to take away from the commercial fishermen, but we are a significant commercial activity. And we are engaged in parts of that activity, parts of that business is commercial landings. And as such, the town is charging us $250 to unload that catch at the town pier. So we're commercial when the town wants an unloading and loading fee at the town pier, but we're not commercial when it comes to a commercial permit or access.
I have one more comment. So you just said commercial activity, not commercial fishing.
There's six,
Right? You're like, you are doing a commercial business.
but
It's not,
there's somebody commercially selling.
it's not commercial
Pat,
fishing.
Rich, please, not between each other.
Yeah, I'm just trying to.
My point is, if somebody is selling the two of the three parts of the article suggest commercial sale of catch. So to say that that is not included, I can understand why Kevin is landing 100,000 pounds of haddock in a year, why he thinks 1,200 pounds of striped bass is insignificant to somebody. I understand that. But those folks are still selling. I'll use Brian and Taylor Sears from Fort Tuna, for example. They sold over $100,000 worth of commercial tuna last year. Are they not selling commercial catch? I think they are.
Couple more, because we could hear all that, so a couple more, you have it. Sorry. Yeah.
I want them to finish there and then.
Yeah. Okay. Because you're gonna wait right here.
Yeah.
I'm fine, my
You're fine? Alright.
kinda got, yeah, I'm good.
Lawrence Trowbridge, 392 Tilden Road. Just one thing for everyone to think about. There's a total allowable catch of like 680,000 pounds of striped bass with the state each year. It keeps going down, so every year it goes down, whatever, 40, 50,000 pounds. It's gonna continue to go down. Eventually it will be all the way down. There's over 4,700 striped bass permits in the state. So if you divide the catch by the amount of people, it's about 145 pounds per person if everyone catches 7 fish. If everyone catches 7 fish, they could shut it down in one day. The effort has increased like exponentially over the last few years, and the allowable catch has decreased in half. So we're already down like 50%. I used to strike bass fish. I still do. It's for fun. It's a sport. You know, I'll take the kids out, we'll put a couple fish on the boat, and we go and sell them. And we buy ice creams. That's about what that fishery is. I think that there needs to be commercial moorings, as they are now, for lobster, scallop, groundfish. Then there could be another tier, like we're talking about 3 tiers. Rod and reel for hire boats. So there could be, if we do a rebid, there could be a separate list for those type of boats. And that would be fine. But we can't take the moorings from the guys that are doing lobstering. As hard as it is for these guys to afford slips, it's probably even harder for us to pay the few $100s for our excise tax. It's hard for us right now. We're losing, our industry is collapsing. And we're just like the last ones hanging on. And really, we just have it doesn't make financial sense what we're doing. So we're very lucky to be able to do that and have a boat, but it's real hard. And I'm actually also at an oyster farm, so I have one of the oyster grants. And I think that should be a separate commercial mooring list as well. That should not, we as aquaculturalists shouldn't be taking moorings from any of these guys. It should be a separate aquaculture list, and there should be X amount of moorings available for that. These moorings that, you know, we need to preserve the lobster and fish moorings, and then have a separate section for rod and reel, head boat, or charter boats. I'm also a charter fisher. So I used to do more charters. I don't really do them anymore, but I could. But I wouldn't try to take a mooring from any of the commercial lobster or fishermen. It doesn't make sense. We are gonna lose. We're gonna lose. We need more commercial moorings for lobster and fish guys. So, I mean, that's something to consider. And then, I know it already was brought up, but it would be nice if slips were available for commercial boats at a discounted price. And that would be for bass, whatever commercial, but maybe you get a discounted slip. Because it is hard for being just a charter guy to afford, you know, you can't afford the $400 a foot. It's just too much, you know, so maybe if it was a discounted price and X amount of slips available. I mean, I'm not sure if you have transient slips, as it is now, but if we made available slips for, you know, the charter boats, rod and reel guys, and commercial guys. There's a lot of fishermen that have permits and boats that don't have moorings, and if they could get a slip, especially at a discounted price, they probably would, I would say.
Sure, Dave Donovan, Blackburn, Scituate. Two questions. We're talking about a process to get a mooring. And perhaps Stephen can add to what it takes to keep that mooring. Okay, because in the past, they have an instance where people would get moorings and they get used to it. But Stephen did know that. And then, you know, I believe he has a spot in the town meeting for this bylaw change that started this discussion. And maybe what is that bylaw change? I've heard things, but I don't know what it is.
To go back through the language of that?
Well, I know that they talked about a waterway, but I don't know what article.
Let's stay on one thing at a time, on just this article. So are you asking?
Well, he has an article that defines, I believe, he has an article at town meeting that's going to define what commercial means.
So the individual who holds one or more valid mass division of marine fisheries or federal commercial.
No, that's not, no. Hold
I don't
on.
have it.
I
was
don't
reading
think we
it.
have that in debate.
David, we can make sure you get that after.
Yeah, that's definitely not it.
Sorry, I was reading my backup.
No, I don't think we have that
that's
information.
Patrick.
I mean, it's not on the agenda tonight, but that is the opportunity that Dr. Nico was talking about, try to come up with something. You know, we can't amend the one that Pat had, that's what it is, but Steve has one that we'll be discussing at a later date. That's the opportunity to amend that
Oh,
one.
I thought he was talking
To
about
try
the
to
one, but.
craft something.
Yeah.
Can some of the things that are intended in my drafted, bylaw be included in Steve's?
That'd be part of the discussion, yeah.
That will be good. Yours can't be amended until the night of the meeting.
I understand that,
The
but
other
he has one that's being worked on, so is there tweaking of this language that can include, that hypothetically can be included in Steve's?
Hypothetically, yeah.
Yeah, hypothetical. I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about his. I was misunderstood.
I was gonna let Susan do first. if she wants.
Oh, yeah.
And just the other question, what's it take to stay on a commercial mooring?
Harassment. I mean,
Stay on commercial mooring, you have
To maintain ownership of it.
you have to have your license, you have to have your registration for your boat, your documentation, provide insurance. You have to pay your excise tax.
Does the permit have to be active?
Yes, it is. It has to be.
Okay.
Efficient. Yeah. We don't offer to check that.
Steve.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
all right.
we can come along and have
I
a
just-
separate conversation.
I just wanna say something to him. I know everyone, I just wanna say I appreciate everyone coming forward and this has been a great conversation. It's actually refreshing, because I'm on waterways and we're not talking about rape, so.
Yeah.
We've been talking about rape
Yeah.
for 12 months straight, 12
That's
months
about 20
straight.
minutes.
12 months straight, we've been talking about rape, so I really appreciate that. I have spent a lot of time, policy is my thing, so I'd like to figure out how to make something work. I've, like, through listening, I feel like we're not doing enough for businesses in Scituate. We've been doing a lot for businesses on Front Street, we do a lot for businesses on, in North Scituate, we've been doing a lot for commercial business, and I do think there's a question, what are we doing for, commercial businesses that are not commercial fishing? While I agree there might be a problem, I'm not sure I agree on the solution, in changing the definition of commercial fishing. Because commercial fishing, I mean, to me, commercial fishing is you're catching and selling fish. And or shellfish, actually. I think we catch and sell fish and shellfish, and now even we get them in our restaurants and everything. But I also, and Jared, to your point, I don't wanna get to a place where someone asks you, who do I call for a charter? And you're like, yeah, no one's here. So like, we gotta figure out a way that we're supporting all of our businesses, but not at the expense of mine. So that's kind of where I am, and I'm there from all of this positive conversation.
Yeah.
And thank you for that, and it's, sometimes it's messy how you figure out what problems are, and thank you for all coming so that we can work this out. But I think we do have some work to do to figure out how to support our commercial businesses in town that are working in the harbor, and I'm not saying in the harbor like a business district, I'm saying in the actual harbor, in the water, right? And I would also say, it's a problem if, who do I call for a launch to get out to your boat, and there's no one to call? Who do I call for a charter? Who do I call to work on my mooring? So this is a larger discussion, right? This is a larger discussion, and I think we can do a better job. And again, thank you for all of your.
Yeah, last two, David, then.
Thank you. Dave Deneen, I'm the Waterways Chairman, 267 Tilden. Going into Susan's point, we've been beaten on fees and going through that for a year. Actually, for this year, what we're trying to work on is exactly what Susan's talking about. And it is the marketing of our harbor. So I think that's what you're going to start seeing for this early quarter. We've already put together a subcommittee of marketing, and I think this is one of the avenues that we want to go down and try to find ways to improve our marketing ability around our region for our harbor businesses. So that's something that is that we are very much aware of, and look forward to bringing that to the town. Thank you.
Thanks. Try to be quick. Larry brought up oyster fishing, oyster farming, aquaculture. I think it's important that we know that needs to be in the discussion as well. We're already working on that in different places. It needs to come into the fold here. So thank you, Larry. Phyllis mentioned the slips, and that's been mentioned a couple more times. I think it was by omission more than on purpose, but in the petition as stated by Pat, I think this isn't a discussion about slips as much as the cost of private slips. We have a harbor master, and harbor slips owned by the town. They're not private equity firms. We do have control over that pricing, which is different than the private pricing. I think that needs to be in this discussion, whether it's a tiered system, otherwise, et cetera. So that's important. I want to say thanks, Pat, for bringing this petition. I don't necessarily support it as it's written right now, but I support the idea that you're opening up a really important conversation, and we still have time to talk about that, and that's really important. So I really appreciate you for bringing it up so that we can chew on it a lot and get to the right place for the entire harbor. I think Susan mentioned this, and I think this is really important for probably all of us up here. The tone of this conversation has been wholly positive. And even though there is disagreement about where it is or where it's coming from, I think that it's really valuable, and we've seen this earlier tonight and certainly previously at the board, where things start to get so antagonistic, they can't go anywhere but negative. And I love that this has been a positive conversation by everybody in the room. I think it's really important, and I think it shows the value of the not just defining commercial, but the fact that we are a heritage harbor with a real import on what happens on the water floating up there, and that's really valuable. So thank you to everybody that's spoken tonight. And finally, I don't know that the petition is right where it is right now, but there's still time to come up with an alternate solution on the warrant, as well as to come up with a discussion that leads to an amendment that could be presented on the floor. So I encourage Pat and Kevin and Mike and all the people that are working on our harbor to try and figure that out between now and then.
In the 5 years on the board, I've never had a better meeting and learned more than tonight. So I want to thank everyone. I mean that sincerely. I've learned more, I've understood more about certain issues. And it's right. Susan diagnosed it, or she talked about it perfectly. We've diagnosed a problem. We may not all have the right prescription to solve it. But I've never been more positive that we can solve this, because I think we're all agreeing on kind of where we need to go. We need to do a better job supporting all the different types of commercial without access anxiety, right? The anxiety of, oh, I can't get a mortgage on the commercial. So we need to do a lot better. And I know we can do that moving forward with additions, especially if we have more coverage, stuff like this. Well, thank you, everyone. And we're gonna get to the right spot. I know we will, especially with this group. It's the best.
I'm good. I like it.
So thank you.
Thank you. Shoot well, gonna be raining.
Thank you. All right. I conclude that. All right, thank you. We're gonna take a quick 5-minute recess. Yes. We're back from recess, just like you know. We are gonna skip around on the agenda a little bit. We're gonna move up to the waterways enterprise rate and other recommendations. We're gonna have with me, and actually, we're gonna have our vice chair take us through this. She's been working extensively on this. Also our harbor master of waterways, Dave. The meeting.
And Dave Sinkowski's here, the whole band together here.
All right.
Okay, oh, another, lot of Daves. Scale Dave and everyone. Okay, so a little background, as you recall, I know before the holidays we met, and the waterways presented. We asked a lot of questions. There were some questions on like percents, dollars, transient slips, premium slips. There were a lot of questions. I went back and worked with the harbor master and worked with the waterways committee to get a clear definition of like what we're doing and what this 5-year plan is. As far as specifically how we're increasing the mooring fees per year for the next 5 years. And if anyone's new to this, I feel like some of us have been sitting through this for a year, right? And had very good conversations. While back, the select board asked the waterways committee, working with the harbor master, to come up with a 5-year plan. And did similar to what we did when we're looking at other rates. We went back and they looked at a lot of other towns and what they're doing, found no surprise that we're lower than other towns, as well as other marinas, as well as we tried to address and look at pay for electric, where some marinas pay for electric. That's kind of where this whole premium slip kind of came about. As well as square footage of how folks are taking up a larger slip. So the recommendations were kind of tiering where you're increasing every other year, right? The moorings starting in FY 26 to then 28, then 30, increasing $1. The slips, the proposal was to increase by roughly 8% for residents and roughly 10% to non-residents. When I say roughly, I mean that when as far as moorings, we always go to the dollar, right? Like, so we're not gonna, we don't have them. You round up for the foot, right? And most people here know of boats, but you round up to the foot. You have a 35 foot 6 inch, you've got a 36 foot boat. And then when we're coming up with rates, we're looking at roughly 8%, which is, that rounded either up or down based on the, and the Scituate residents, the thought was to give them a little bit more of a break, right? We see other towns doing this as well. So consistently, as we're increasing the slip fees, every other year again, so the fees and the slips would be 27, FY 27, 29, and 31, right? So again, we've got these we're kind of tiering it every other year, which was, I thought was like, it's a great idea, right? I thought there were a lot of, like, we're kind of letting people know that the rates are coming, but also, giving them a little breathing room in between. And then, again, the premium slips, there's a lot of questions about where the specific premium slips were. So we had the harbor master, and I wrote up the actual slips that were premium slips, right? And again, this is for people's reference, who, if someone's just calling in, I'm just wondering, just in case some folks are just calling in, we're seeing electricity rates increase all through town, right? And Marina's one of them. And I think it's about $8,000 now. I'm sure it'll be more next year. So it's like, how do we think about ways, and I like commend the committee, thinking about ways to write a policy where it's more of a fee to the people that are more likely using it than the folks that are not more likely using it. So, again, we've got for these, slips, the premium slips, I will list them out, what they are as far as, and again, I've sent this, we went through this and sent it to Waterways as well. The, $10 a foot increase for 26, and that's Cole Parkway, and these slips would be 143 to 170, and for Scituate, Marine Park, it would be the slips at the end of A, B, and C, so it's A18 through A21, B18 through B20, and B34, and C18, C19, C36, and C37. So, those are for the slip fees, and then the waterway user maintenance fee, again, there was discussion of increase, again, it's FY 26, 28, 30, again, you're doing every other year, and this is every vessel, $25 per vessel, for the increase, and it's currently, the rate is 125, so it would go 150, 175, 200. Right, and I spelled this all, and I guess what we did was, there was a little bit of confusion, right? So in the motion, we did this and spelled this all out. So I'm gonna read it. And then we wanna mention there was a discussion on transient vessels. And these are commercial transient vessels. So these are people that are not in Scituate. They come and they use our town here overnight. And we were set at $50 a night, which was considerably low. We again talked to the commercial fishing folks, they agreed to $100 a night. And then transient slips, we've talked about, and these are folks, recreational transient slips that come during the summer or during the season, from $3 a foot to $4 a foot per night, and that would be effective like immediately. I will say, and we have talked with Stephen about understanding the data on that to make sure that we are not getting more revenue but seeing less boats, right? So we want to make sure that we're tracking that data in the coming years to see if we need, and we may need to jigger some of that stuff around. But I think that, and I put a motion together and like spelled it out, so that Stephen could take this, you read it, Stephen, right? You could take this and be like, I know exactly what to do. So I don't know if you want me to do a motion or you want discussion, if anyone has questions. There's a lot of what we talked about. I just thought we should be a lot clearer in what we're actually charging.
I have one question about the credit card fees. Like the municipalities are allowed to charge credit card fees to consumers.
Yes. So that's with the online payments, right?
Right, it's not. That wouldn't be in the article though.
That's a standard, if you pay online, you pay the fee, right, Stephen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not in the article.
Current policy. But they wanna get rid of it.
Oh, wait, they
No,
want.
it's not, we don't have that yet.
It shouldn't be in the article.
We don't have that.
Alright, we'll move on.
We don't wanna get rid of that, right?
We don't even charge, we don't charge, you wanna add that. Oh, add.
But you don't charge currently, I thought you were charging that. Oh, wait, Nancy.
You lose the 2%.
So, transfer station, Widows Walk, and Waterways all accept credit cards, and the fee they charge is priced to include the cost of processing.
Okay.
So it's unlike when you pay your taxes, it's a convenience fee. it's built into those three enterprise fund rates. So if you change it for one, you have to be consistent with all three. That's why I immediately like rolled forward when you said that.
Okay, so wait a second, if I'm understanding correctly, we do not charge that credit card fee to Waterways because we would have to charge it at the transfer station as well as Widows Walk?
I would say yes.
I think the way she's explaining it is, it's already built into the fee.
We are,
So if instead of saying, pay me $9, and then there's a credit card fee on top of that, we set the fee at $10, so we get our money and just have a credit card fee.
It's like the Maria sandwich, it's priced at like $9.17.
But I'm just saying, like, specifically, sometimes people don't pay that way just because they're not. People walk their check to town hall, right? I hear they do. Anyway. All right, so that is something I did not know. That's new information. I'm not sure the Waterways knew that.
but it's
Did
not,
Brian and I have
Or
discussed
you
it.
did. You did know it. Okay. Okay.
but it's not an emotion.
It's not in the motion at all, but
So it could be handled as a convenience fee after the fact.
but it's around 10 grand, right?
Well,
12, sorry, everything goes up, it's around 12 grand that we're paying. So again, another reason we have to increase rates. Electricity goes up, everything goes up. Everything is more expensive, and we have things we really wanna do, whether it's the town pier, regridding, dredging, marketing, bathrooms.
So I think this is way clear. I really appreciate all the work by everybody that went into this. I know it wasn't just this last month, it was 12 months of work, but I think this is very clear. The only question I had, and I'm not suggesting any suggestion or just bringing it up as this question. When you were going through this, specifically, I'm looking at it from the premium slip standpoint. We're now itemizing out a very specific list of slips. There are currently slip owners in those slips, and those are gonna get bumped more quickly and more specifically than any other
Less than,
category.
just under 10%.
Which is,
Yeah.
which I have no complaint about at all.
Yep.
What I'm wondering is, was there any discussion when we were talking about this with Waterways to assess an option for current premium slip owners that may not want to get hit by that kind of immediate increase to downgrade off of the premium slip to a different location without having to go to the back of the list? If I have a boat currently this summer that was on a premium slip last summer, and I'm about to get hit by a $10 plus increased fee, and I'm thinking that's a lot for 1 year, is there some discussion for those specific 22 people to downgrade out of a premium spot to a non-premium spot without having to go to the end of the line? I'm just curious if that came up or not.
Seeing as how we have 40 slips or
I'm not even making a suggestion, I'm just asking if it came up. Sounds like it did, so that's fine, I just wanted to ask that question.
If I'm remembering correctly, it came up, but it came up for the smaller boats that are on outside slips, but not in these larger outside slips, which is why we did not include those in the slip numbers that I listed. Am I remembering correctly?
The slip numbers you listed have all the outer slips.
Right, and they're the larger boats.
There may be smaller boats, and if they chose, like, if Sikorsky said he'd like to be out there and would have preferred to pay more, and somebody wanted to not pay a little less, then we could just switch them on.
You'd allow them to swap this year without having to go to the end.
We'd work with them as best we could.
That's all I wanted to
We
hear.
did.
So
We did.
the rest of you sound great.
Okay.
Pretty sure someone's gonna want those.
And that's, so that one,
Yeah.
you know, usually there's not much exception for that, I'm making a good change. Thank you. Everything else is great.
We've already said it, no one's gonna thank you, amazing work. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
Yes.
Can I just say, well, Howie Cruz for the Home Voters Committee, just to make everyone aware, for this past fiscal year, my fee went up $10 a foot. And then in 26, I'm gonna pay another $10 a foot for premium slip. I really don't have a choice in that matter. And then I'm gonna get an increase in 27, another $10 a foot. And 27, the premium slip increase of $10 a foot. So I'm gonna be paying $40 a in the next 3 years. This seems a little excessive to me.
It's three.
That's
That's
precisely
one-
why I just
No,
asked
it's
the
not a
question I
good-
asked. Is that if you.
No, he's saying in.
That's actually precisely why I just asked what I asked, because if you're currently one of those slips that's gonna get hit the hardest, and you feel that that's an onerous change, I'd like to have an option for the harbor master to work with you to move you out of the premium slip to a non-premium slip, which is gonna save you those 3 double increases.
And I appreciate that, I can't, my boat's too big for that, so I have to be in the premium slip. It's not like I have an option here, all I'm pointing out is, to me, it's looking like $10, $10, that's a significant increase.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, well, no, but it's, we just
We're at
learned tonight, it's three, what is it, 130, and the other guy we found that's 360 bucks.
360 and 400 are the other options.
And it's all
$400.
And we're doing everything we can to be affordable,
And it's 5 years overdue.
and it's 5 years overdue,
Yeah.
so I,
With a reserve account of almost 400,000.
Which we're gonna rebid at 175,000, right? We've got some costs coming up. Do we not?
We do. As well as the dredging, which are gonna be, I think about $3 million worth of dredging projects coming, so.
I'll say 10% fee, so the, Michelle. Actually, I think sewer and water fees over the last 5 years have had an increase close to, actually the last 10 years, what, 100%?
Probably in water.
Water for 110%, just due to,
Inflation cost.
inflation and cost. That's $40 in 5 years, it's gonna be $28.
I'm just pointing out that we have a pretty healthy reserve, we've always had a healthy reserve. And for some people, maybe I'm not in the norm, it's $10, $10, $10, and $10, that's a significant increase over a 4-year period. It's numbers.
I'll buy the first round.
I don't disagree about raising fees, that's
Yeah.
not what I'm saying, I'm just saying it's, for some people, it's a pretty big hit.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
22 people, yeah, $40. I get it.
I don't actually think that we're disagreeing with the fact that it's a hit, but we have to catch up and reset our rates, and we've done, I'm not pointing anybody's finger, we haven't done our due diligence the way we probably should have been over the last 5 years. And we're trying to rectify the situation and do a better job the next 5 years. And I think it just may so happen that you're getting the biggest hit and you don't have a lot of options and you're the one person in the room. That's a sticky position to be in. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm not.
But I think we have to look at the whole town, and that's how.
Yes. We have to appreciate the fact that we do have a reserve.
I do, but the last thing I want is to start having a less than healthy reserve.
It's significant, and it's never an issue.
Well, it actually has been an issue. That's actually why we're doing this. So I came into this because some of our bond rating agencies, and it's been identified as an issue. So my goal writ large is to make sure we get the best deal for the town on rates. You could be paying $40 more, but it might save us an override because we're saving $500,000 on interest rates for everything else. We've got a better bond rating. And if they're identifying that we need to fix this, yeah, you might pay more over here, but I'm gonna save you more because I don't have to raise your property tax because hopefully that things go well. So that's I can tell you where I'm coming from. Like that was my main, like, we gotta fix this. They say, do this, and this. Okay, that's what it's gonna take. Let's make sure we're financially strong to save you in the long run. So, no, I mean, I appreciate it. All right, motion.
you want me to do the motion, or the other? Yeah, sure, if you wanna read it,
Same thing, you want for a
go
second?
ahead. Where did that one? There you go.
Sure. I move that the select board implement the following mooring slip waterways user maintenance fees and transfer fees for the next 5 years. For moorings, increase the mooring fees for FY 26 by $1 per foot, $1 per foot to $9 per foot. Increase the mooring fees for FY 28 by $1 a foot to $10 per foot. And increase the mooring fees for FY 30 by $1 per foot to $11 per foot. For slips, to increase slip fees at town operated slips at both Cole Parkway and Scituate Marine Park FY 27, Scituate residents by approximately 8% to $131 per foot, and for Scituate non-residents by approximately 10% to $187 per foot. To increase slips fees at town-operated slips at both Cole Parkway and Scituate Marine Park for FY '29 for Scituate residents by approximately 8% to $141, and Scituate non-residents by approximately 10% to $206 per foot. And increased slip fees at town-operated slips at both Cole Parkway and Scituate Marine Park for FY '31 for Scituate residents by approximately 8% to $152 per foot, and for non-residents by approximately 10% to $227 per foot. And for premium slips for FY '26, to increase slip fees by $10 per foot for premium slips at both Cole Parkway and Scituate Marine Park. The following slips specifically are designated as premium slips. For Cole Parkway, premium slips include slips 143 through 170. For Scituate Marine Park, premium slips include the following slips: A018 through A021, B018, B018 through B020, and B034, and C018, C019, C036, and C037. For FY '27, increase those slip fees by $10 per foot for premium slips at both Cole Parkway and Scituate Marine Park. The following slips are designated as premium slips. For Cole Parkway, premium slips include slips 143 through 170. For Scituate Marine Park, premium slips include the slips A018 through A021, B018 through B020, and B034, and C018, C019, C036, and C037. As a waterway user maintenance fee, increased by $25 per vessel to $150 for all vessels in FY '26. The current rate is $125 per vessel. Increased by $25 per vessel to $175 in FY '28. And increased by $25 per vessel to $200 in FY '30. For commercial transient vessels, increase the fee for commercial transient vessels on the town pier from $50 per night to $100 per night effective FY '26. And transients, to increase the rate at all town marinas from $3 per foot per night to $4 per foot per night effective FY '26.
Director Panasenko, second by
Second.
Ms. Harrison, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Well done, your work. Come on, ready to go. Yes.
Company, Flat Road Scituate, just a question maybe to Nancy. On the waterway, can I address her, or do I address you?
You can address me, even though we know she's gonna
Is
do
your
it.
waterway user maintenance fee that's being collected now,
Yeah.
along with the mooring fee, go to the same
Okay,
bucket?
Yes.
yes.
It all goes to the Waterway Enterprise Fund and stays with the Waterways Enterprise.
Stays in that.
But, and there was, at some point in time, there was some stabilization fee that was talked about years ago about whether or not that money could be earmarked for dredging. So my question is, at the $150 and the $10 a foot, let's say for the mooring, our mooring rates per foot are really more than what's being advertised. I guess it's like, I don't understand why there's two charges for the same.
Why is there a mooring fee and also a waterways user fee?
Correct. If they're the same, if they're collected the same and they're used the same and they're more, let's say, personnel or boat repairs or any of those things.
Because in theory, even if in practice, most of them are the same owners, you could have a situation where somebody is paying one but not the other. So you could have a situation where somebody is paying a waterways user fee but may not actually still have a current boat, theoretically, and so you need both definitions to apply so that you have access to everybody using the harbor.
And the people who use the private marinas, private marina pays the Waterways user fee.
So that's
All
your
of them pay?
situation.
All of them pay?
Right, but just to clarify, it goes to the same place. It's not collected for, it's not a waterway user maintenance fee used
So
for
it
waterway
could be
maintenance.
collected from different people.
But it all goes into one place.
All goes in the same bucket. Good question. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your efforts. Susan, thank you.
No, thank you. Been a productive night.
That's
Thank you all.
Stephen, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Before we go to the new day.
I don't have to sit
All
there and rewatch the meetings now.
We're gonna go, well, we're gonna skip the non-binding ballot for tonight.
No, well, that's what I was gonna say to you,
Award.
it was just for discuss, if you wanna do them, then we can put on the next meeting with some options.
Yeah, we'll do, yeah, I think just one of them we're gonna do.
Okay.
So let's want to award some contracts?
So we have two contracts before you, the Mass Association, Metropolitan Area Planning Council, that's what that MPC means. Does procurement for all of the South Shore Regional area municipalities, so we get better pricing. And we would like to award contracts to TL Edwards for roadway management at the unit prices in your packet for a 1-year contract with 2 1-year extension options. And then also one to WL French Excavating Corp for debris disposal, and that's basically street sweepings and catch basin remains at unit prices for a 1-year contract with 2 1-year extension options.
I have a motion.
Good.
Alright, let's do it.
Move to award a contract to TL Edwards Incorporated for roadway management at unit prices for 1 year with 2 1-year extension options. Further moved to award a contract to WL French Excavating Corp for debris disposal at unit prices for 1 year with 2 1-year extension options.
Moved by, who are you again? Mr. Gilmore, seconded by, Ms. Harrison, all in favor? Aye. It's unanimous. All right. New business, I will start the transfer station revenue options. This is again just a discussion, I'll bring it up. This is, on average, we get about 5,000 stickers. There's been some discussion, we talked about this ages ago, about, allowing a limited number of Norwell residents, 50 stickers or so. So 50. South Situate.
That's
a ring to it.
I know.
So if we did 50, $200, we can't vote on the side of it, so I'm throwing it out there for you to chew on. Brings in $10,000. I mean, if you start looking at the data for how many stickers to sell, you're probably gonna win 100. You're still less than we've ever done.
I think it's an awesome idea.
I think that Mr. Chairman, the more we can make our facilities more regionally municipal, and so long as the facility can handle the volume, but there's no reason why we should.
It's because we have some of the best staff
We do.
in town.
We do.
Some of them are really good photographers too.
We have the best, and Cohasset loved it, by the way, when they used.
Okay.
Well, we get running water.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know where to address that, is Beaver Dam Road or is it Transfer Station Way? Is there any talk about doing, contractor rates, additional? Commercial? Yes, exactly.
Non-resident commercial? I think that potentially runs into a problem with,
Well, no, just commercial, just in general.
the commercial what, I guess.
Just like a commercial sticker for companies, like for actual registered companies in town.
Oh.
As a
resident.
We looked at that
Yes.
before.
Interesting.
We looked at that before and we had the same issue with, like what they were talking about with the charter boats and like, I have a business and I make bead necklaces and I have a commercial pickup truck for my business making bead necklaces.
I just know what it had been done with other towns, so I wasn't sure if that was an
Well,
avenue.
we can look into this. First I've heard of it, but we can look into it.
That's an interesting.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Why don't we move on the Norwell residents one, because that seems like we can make
Yeah.
progress on that, and then we can continue to discuss that and move
Yeah.
that forward.
Great idea, though.
I think it's a really good idea.
I gotta get my head around it.
anything right now.
Yeah, so we'll bring it, we good to bring that
Yeah.
for the next meeting, we comfortable as
Yeah, and I think some of the other issues were, right, I own a business in Scituate, but I live over here. And I'm bringing all my trash to my house, to my business.
Oh, I see,
Right.
yeah.
Well, we would have to split that out because the trash cannot be
It's just,
with bulk rate.
Yeah.
And this would
Yeah, but
like
it's a
bulk,
big grader.
like contractor type debris rather versus actual trash.
So,
I tried to run a sale, remember that years ago? I thought it was, we're trying.
Cohasset people love the sale.
Cohasset loves our transfers.
my main question for this is that by selling a house town sticker, you're not compromising our costs, because you're still blue bag, in the bag, you're covering the cost.
Yeah, as long as the station can handle it, let's do
So
it.
it's really just more about capacity.
Volume.
And what's Norwell possibly doing?
Noel is actually gonna impose a $500 a house trash fee.
So why wouldn't they wanna come
These would like
to our,
sell
fill our
faster than
fabulous?
beach stickers.
$500, 3,000 houses, 0.5 million have that deficit.
Yeah, we're gonna need more bins.
We're good.
Alright, so we're good, so let's discuss again next.
I think we should discuss
Do we have-
it.
yeah, I like that too.
And I also
My
thank
question
you
is, what is it?
for your
I mean, you
ideas.
said water capacity.
Yeah, so I think we talked at 4,300 stickers at Hillsborough, and this year we're at 39. So we're like 400 or 500
Did we
stickers
have the
fewer.
same step?
But I just mean in terms of the
We did,
theoretical
okay.
capacity,
Oh.
what's the theoretical, what are we talking about
Well,
currently?
our capacity is tonnage.
Yeah.
Well, so divide that by the average number of
And
stickers, et cetera. et cetera.
We're way below our permanent tonnage.
More people are going to private.
I haven't,
No, I'm simply saying, we're talking about 50 or 100.
Yeah,
If it turns out our capacity could take 700, why are we talking about 50?
because I don't want our residents to be like, oh, now there's a line out the door, this is, because we're all.
We gotta test it out.
We're
Pilot.
gonna it's a pilot.
We're gonna
Walk
call it
before we run.
pilot.
Yeah. Oh, I can't get there.
And Andrew and I discussed that, the thing with the beach stickers, right? We have 150 non-resident beach stickers.
No, it's a
There's
good
no
answer.
place to park, we have to restrict those. We sell 8,000 beach stickers.
It's a good answer, I just got one answer.
Yeah,
It's a
Well,
place to
let's
start.
start on the agenda.
perfect. All right, now, let's quickly do drain layers and then we'll vote on Cushman. Drain layers. We didn't vote on the piece of paper.
I can go offer
Yes.
if paperwork's in order, would you like a motion?
Yes.
Please.
Move to approve renewal of drain layers licenses for CC Construction, Riccio Excavation Company, and Joseph F. Keel Contracting.
Second.
Moved by, Mr. Gilmore, seconded by Brett, every, no, all those in favor, aye. All right. Unanimous.
Do you wanna do the minutes?
Yeah.
So to accept the meeting minutes from December 9th, 2025, December 16th, 2025, and the December 16th, 2025 executive session.
Well, wait, but
No,
yeah,
and
not
not
released.
release.
approve and not release the executive session meeting.
And approve and not release the December 16th, 2025
Moved
executive.
as amended by
Second.
Ms. Schlegel, seconded by Janie, by Mr. Gilmore, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. So now we have our pieces of paper?
I do.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Does everyone understand, we're voting on,
Mr. Chairman, may I make
Yes.
a recommendation?
please, I can't find my
That you
paper.
call the roll of the nominees, and as long as we restrict our votes to only 6 names, you'll end up with a tally. And whoever's vote majority is the tally, is the action committee.
Well, yeah, that's
It's a very smooth, efficient way to do this, because I already know what I want to put on.
You don't want to make a discussion about that?
I don't need to discuss it with anybody. They were very thorough interviews, and they had their time, they had a lot of time to think about
Maybe I'm
this.
sick, right?
You have more than 6 here, so if you pick your
Well-
6.
Yeah,
And
there's
just vote
13
for-
applicants
So-
and 6
I know it's been a long night, but.
One of them has to be
There's one
a
issue.
representative
That was
from the
gonna say the
neighborhood.
same thing, the one issue that has to be a rep from the neighborhood, so if we went through the whole tally and that
Right,
didn't
and
work
then
out.
residents.
That's my only thing, but otherwise, I think it's.
Who are the neighborhood nominees? By address.
Two could say, in the neighborhood.
Oh, I'm sorry, not.
Right.
Probably your two
So
Aberdeen,
Gillis or Matt Morrow?
yep, your two Aberdeen drivers.
Dana Gillis and Matt Morrow. So fortunately, I can't say because I don't want my, fortunately, I only have one of those in my list, so I don't have a problem with that.
So we
That's
do,
right.
so one of those has to be, now, I'm gonna throw this out, we're not gonna decide this tonight. But we may wanna consider having 2 alternates. Because we're all gonna have different names, and we're gonna write down our top
Well,
numbers.
Mr. Chairman, I suggest we go through and do the effective vote,
Yes.
and then if what's left, we could then go through and say, okay, for an alternate, blah, blah, blah.
Right, and whoever's seven and eight.
Change your charter. Yeah.
Right, that's why we're not doing any of that tonight, I'm just letting people, correct, we're gonna change that.
And two people, you can't vote for both of the neighborhood people.
Correct.
Right, so you gotta pick one.
Unfortunately,
A or
because
B.
they're both very good.
Well, you could, you don't, you just have to have at least one, you could have.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
You just have, you just have to have.
Just so no one, this is like baseball, the highest score wins. So you get six. Six is your top choice. It's like rank choice. I just wanna be luminous.
I wonder if we should do this,
5,
Who's
4,
in town?
3,
Do you
2,
want
1.
me to do this?
Shari. No, just write it down and we're gonna pass it to Shari.
I got a spreadsheet, so you just gotta name 6 people, like.
Look down, write down, and this is all public documents, people can see.
well, I've got scribbles on mine, so this is an imperfect ballot.
There.
You want those numbers, do I
This number,
You're asking us to give you R6.
yeah, write down, just write 6 to 1, and you're gonna hand it to Shari.
What
And one is your first.
You can hand it to you.
No, this is, again, highest,
Highest number.
that's the late night, highest
Why
number.
don't you just write your name next?
Why don't you just put an X through one of the check marks? So that there's, now that, cause
Tell me what to write, I need to write.
No, I didn't realize this was difficult.
maybe
Okay,
we
so
draw,
write down the
we draw
6.
little shamrocks.
Okay.
Time out, stop, so let's, you gotta be serious here for a second.
More than 6 candidates available.
But only pick 6, your 6 that you want.
But your suggestion is that if I pick my 6, everybody picks their 6.
Yeah.
And of those names counted,
Weighted
the
average.
highest 6 are going to
Yes,
get
The
taken.
weighted average, yeah.
So your top
As
candidate
opposed
should
to
be number
voting,
6.
as opposed to voting each name up or down
Right,
and seeing which ones get the most.
We've had plenty of time to consider this.
up or down, I mean, right,
And your top candidate is number
6, top
Oh, God, everybody remember.
is your top
If
candidate.
that's what
number
everybody
6.
wants to do, I'll do it, I don't
But
agree with that
I guess-
tabulation because there was reasoning for, it wasn't just my top 6, there was reasoning for the mix that I was looking. When I looked at the
But
candidates.
that's your reason for your mix, and I'm gonna do
Yeah.
the same
But I
thing
have
with my
reasons for
mix.
my mix, but I cannot sit here for another hour discussing it.
I don't think it's appropriate. I think we've had our due, pick your 6 that you would like to see on the committee, and then it's weighted average.
Yeah, like, all these people are fabulous, it's really
They
hard.
are,
You're-
that's the problem.
If that's
Which is
the
a
way
great
you wanna go, I'll go there. So we're going 6 is the most important candidate we had, 1 is the 6th.
Yep.
So 6, you want that, okay, like ranked choice voting, okay. Number 6. Right, baseball. Highest points wins.
Yeah,
Football.
yes, it's keys to the games.
So now I have to go back to my notes,
Mhm.
because I hadn't thought about that, but I can do it though.
Once you have it done, let me have your sheet.
Right.
That's mostly.
Right, it was quick.
Yeah, Rhea is literally falling asleep at this desk.
Jeopardy?
I literally thought of that. But Seth will be mad at us because it's not, it's probably like copyright. It's
Still going live and every track.
This is riveting TV. Thank you.
Thank all the candidates, they're fabulous people.
It's awfully quiet here.
Final exam.
Hold on.
There you go.
Mine the last
Well,
one.
we can do this. Let's
I was
move
like,
on
why don't I have
to
enough?
correspondence and liaison reports.
I can give you.
While Jim gets his abacus up.
I can give you liaison report for CPC. The last meeting, they were supposed to, take up the, cranberry bogs, but the owner was not able to attend, so that has now been moved to the 12th. They did, however, indicate that the sales agreement for the dish pan property has been created and going forward.
Oh, nice.
And they rescinded previous funds of $247,983.53 back to the appropriate funds. So next meeting is January 12th, 6:30. And then with regard to Scituate Heritage, Sister City, we had the fundraiser for the Irish Heritage Trail event where we were all recognized and thanked by the committee. It was a very successful night. They raised a ton of money.
Nice.
Which was good.
It was packed, it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was a great event.
It was a very nice event.
Very cool.
So that's all I have for tonight. I don't want to belabor anybody's time.
Appreciate it.
I don't have anything because all my people like present.
They're all here.
Or they're meeting this week, yeah, don't bring them back now.
Okay.
I cannot find my notebook this morning.
The sidewalk committee has just about wrapped everything, and nothing will be presented to EDC at their next meeting, which is coming up to present then to the board of selectmen, hopefully in the next year.
Can we all just start calling us select board?
What did I say?
Board of selectmen.
It is technically select board.
All right, any
The only correspondence
Our
I
good,
had-
is our good
Kyle.
friend from, our good golf friend or somebody else?
No, the only correspondence I had was a letter from the gentleman that
Yeah.
sat next to
Well, there were a couple.
to Patrick in favor, who's a local charter fisherman. And then we had the Fishermen's Association send us a letter. That's all I have. Response and your copies.
All right, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
No, you can't, Darren.
No.
You have to do your motion for Cushing.
We're gonna make it 2 weeks.
Guys, just not done, you can have it.
All right, let's do
Okay.
Let's Mike make in it the top top 6.
Okay. Who is it?
Who is it? We all came into a consensus with one proud voter.
Watch at the top,
That,
it's top
that's
side.
forced with the way to there.
Yeah, it's a weighted average.
Great.
I agree.
I will
I don't
agree
know.
with pretty much anything right now.
We should probably serve it.
We could do it through.
Let's drop off.
All right, the committee as of today consists of Kathleen Eustace, Liam Swain, Carolyn Meehan, Matt Morrow, Laura Joyce, Matt. And then if we did
Did I miss who you just said?
Yeah.
Matt Morrow,
Matt Morrow, Laura Joyce, and Matthew Roller.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Matt,
6.
Laura,
That's 6.
Liam, you said Liam, right?
yep, Liam,
Matt Morrow,
Matt Morrow,
Go her.
Liam, who, and Caroline.
Caroline, yep,
Kathleen Eustace.
Laura Joyce, and
Laura Joyce.
Kathleen.
And Kathleen.
William Swan.
And, all right,
Do we need a motion or is that just a point?
No, you have a motion in your
Yeah, motion.
packet, but you have to read everybody's.
all right, motion, yeah.
Somebody better give me the name then.
Vote.
There's 3 names in there already.
Motion to appoint Matthew Goller.
So you're gonna adopt those things, whether you have to do with the, you have to pick those for, or the housing, or to the pantry.
Sure, so I'll read the top 6
Yep.
and I'll have that up.
You got it.
Motion to appoint Matthew Golert, Laura Joyce, Matt Morrow, Caroline Meehan, Liam J. Slide, and Kathleen Eustace
Moved by
to the Cushing School Site Land Reuse Committee for the duration of the project or until a successor is named. Further, move to appoint Elizabeth Howie to the Cushing School Land Site Reuse Committee as a representative from the Affordable Housing Trust for the duration of the project or until a successor is named. Further, move to appoint Heather Marshall to the Cushing School Land Reuse Committee as a representative from the food pantry for the duration of the project or until a successor is named. Further, move to appoint Nick Lombardo to the Cushing School Site Land Reuse Committee as a representative from the Recreation Department for the duration of the project or until a successor is named.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Gilmore, seconded by Fred, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
Yay.
Motion to adjourn,
You got it.
say so moved.
So moved.
Moved by Fred, seconded by Mr. Gilmore, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.